In 1987, failing electrical engineer Hironobu Sakaguchi gambled his career on one final fantasy of being a professional game developer before returning to university. His creation, literally named Final Fantasy, was so successful that the company devoted most of its resources to producing sequels. Though the original Final Fantasy would find massive success in the United States in 1990, the long development times and delays revolving around Final Fantasy II and the release of the SNES halted localization in exchange for the newly released Final Fantasy IV, which was named Final Fantasy II for the global market, confusing everyone everywhere.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that found an Ashley Madison account called The Bat, looking for young wards. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
And V.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard for the show was by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download, along with their latest couple of albums on Amazon.com. The clip you heard was the Final Fantasy franchise lore in a minute. You can find more of their videos under the YouTube channel Lore, L-O-R-E. How are you two doing today?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I know some people are probably looking at the website going, wait, there's two of them here. What happened? Well, we shifted our schedule up because some of us have changing lives and everything. And it's going to create a shorter show, but we'll probably be more awake since this will be happening on Wednesdays for recordings now. Other than that, we're still trying to decide on what the subject of the week is because there wasn't enough time to read the X Factor issues that we were supposed to since, we kind of found out we were recording 2 weeks early. But, V, how have you been? You have been missing in action.
Busy. I'm liking my new schedule. It was kind of hard to adjust to sleeping at, 4 hours different. And
yeah, I assume so. We sent Snake Eyes out to look for you. We have not heard from him since.
Also, I lost my phone twice in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, fun.
That takes work.
Okay. Different phones, even.
I know, that takes...
phone. Yeah. And then I just lost the second phone that I bought. Fortunately, it was used and relatively cheap. At H-E-B, which is the local, food store.
You know what? We just read a story on Sunday about a guy who wants to make, mini personal robots that he called, basically, was it smartphones with arms and legs? How much you want to bet she bought two of them and they ran away together?
No, but I want one now.
How about you, Steve? How have you been in the last 48 hours?
Well, I suddenly got a call from work asking me to come in, at 3 a.m. So yeah, I'm conscious, kind of.
The fanciest I got was today. I finished up 2 days worth of work, and the guy I work with comes out and says, "You're making me look bad." I was like, "What are you talking about? There's no files out here for you to work on." Yeah, I know. Are you trying to make me look bad? Hey, I'm not trying to dare anybody to do anything. I'm enjoying myself, okay? But other than that, you would be astonished how much news has already come out in the last 2 days that needs to be gone through. It's absolutely amazing. But before we get into the news, we have to go through our Kickstarter corner, and there's still one left in there. Realize Minas Tirith? V, you've been gone. There is somebody in the Worcestershire, United Kingdom, who put together an Indiegogo page. He wants 1.85 billion British pounds to build a 1-to-1 scale Minas Tirith in the UK.
Oh my god. I want him to succeed at that.
We've kind of had discussions, and we're dubious about this project. But the project actually has 27 days left. It has 2,229 backers. The goal to get this started, once again, is 1.85 billion pounds. Currently has 84,370 pounds.
So it really hasn't gone up.
No, if it's gone up, it's gone up by 500 pounds in the last 2 days. Unfortunately, it's one of those cases where there's a whole lot of questions. The better ones we've asked is, where do you live in the city? Where's the commercial properties? And if there's a fire, how in the hell does anyone get to you? That's not very well laid out. If it's supposed to be 1-to-1 scale according to like the original Tolkien designs or even the movies, there's no way to get a vehicle through this. At least not unless it's horse-drawn.
Yeah, they could just go with the old draw from the well type thing, but that was, stopped because it wasn't very effective.
It depends on how accurate they're being. I mean, they could just put a freaking elevator in it.
Probably only for the people who try to do this or donate at the highest level. 100,000 pounds is the highest level. It grants you and your family exclusive access to all areas of the city, excluding private residences and businesses. Also permits use of horse-drawn carriages for transport. You'll receive priority on property purchases, direct communication links to us, the developers, and a seat on the city's executive committee. You'll also be invited to many annual exclusive events. I don't know. If I'm going to donate 100,000 pounds to the creation of a city, I want access to everything, including private residences and businesses.
Yeah, nobody's going to live there if suddenly somebody can just pay. Nope. I paid 100,000 pounds. I can just walk into your house.
Yeah, that would not be cool with most people.
Oh, I know, but it's just this city is so bizarre. I would need access to everything. That's me personally, especially if I'm going to pay the equivalent of about $140,000. But I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a really big point either way because this is so unlikely to happen at this point.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea, but I think it's going to take a few tries of people doing that before.
Now, if you're going to build a brand new Neo Tokyo somewhere out in the Saitama district, I think you'd have a whole different conversation.
Yeah, but the results would probably be about the same.
Maybe, except that city wouldn't stand too long. You just wait for the techno blob to come through and wipe it out.
Which is probably why the results would be the same. People are like, I'm not going to fund this.
I'd rather live in Gotham. We'll move into video game news. First up, just filed today is the fact that the Arkham Knight PC game finally has a patch that's being beta tested.
Oh, okay.
Warner Brothers Interactive has finally put out a patch to deal with the glitchy nature of the Arkham Knight PC game. Early results from a few forum members, the results are pretty positive.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that people are running the game at max settings on their PC. 4 gigs out of 6 of the RAM was used, constant 60 FPS. One guy thought he might have dropped to 55 once while he was driving, but the game itself was still very smooth.
Nice.
So finally they're getting somewhere in that, although it's not a wide release as of yet, and there's no date as to when this patch will be released to the whole public.
Well, but, I mean, once they get that done, then they can actually start selling it again.
Yes. And speaking of new games, Metal Gear Solid 5, somebody's already discovered an Easter egg in the game.
Okay.
If you log into the game on your birthday, the game will give you a special cinematic of Big Boss coming back to his headquarters and being surprised by his minions with a cake and a cigar.
It's kind of creepy that it actually knows your birthday.
I imagine it's probably cross-referencing with whatever information you use to register the system.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's sharing the birthday actively. It just probably has an algorithm for that particular date.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, I know some of the Galgame games and whatnot that I've played in the past have had features like that as well.
Yeah, I haven't played too many games that do special things on your particular birthday. Holidays and everything, yeah, but that's always simulated holidays within the particular games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of anything I've seen that does stuff on the birthday.
Last interesting thing that happened to me on my birthday was probably a stripper slap, but that was a whole different thing. Jimmy Kimmel is in hot water with video gamers, apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel on his show had a monologue in regards to YouTube gaming. He joked that watching people play video games makes no sense. And like most people doing a business in the modern age, that was reposted on YouTube itself. Well, the video has become the most disliked video in the history of his show. It has close to 60,000 dislikes at this point.
Yeah, I have to say, that was how I got started playing video games, was watching other people play video games.
YouTubing, though?
No, but, I mean, it's the same kind of a theory. You sit there, you watch somebody else play, you figure out, some tactics and everything else, and you go in and you play the game. I don't see anything really,
I think there's a little bit of a discrepancy here, though, because he just expressed his opinion, delivered a monologue about YouTube gamers. He just doesn't understand why people would spend time watching other people play videos or watching videos of other people playing video games. And he's had some interesting comments come back to him, including people attack his credibility, other people attacking the credibility of his wife and daughter, and some people wishing he had cancer.
Yeah, well, that's the internet for you.
Well, I can't say that's the internet, because the internet's just a tool. I would say that's stupid for you.
Yeah.
Well, the people on the internet are stupid. That's, yeah.
Yeah, the internet seems to be like a suction cup for stupid.
Well, the internet's a tool like any other tool, but unfortunately people tend to use the vague amount of anonymity it gives and use it as an excuse to air what they'll claim are their true thoughts. But more often it's just people with low IQs blowing off steam.
Yeah.
There's a new video that was released of the physics engine in Final Fantasy 15.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's not quite what you're thinking of when you think of physics engine, because they want to show how the game affects the fine details of some of the characters. So it is a 5-minute video of the characters driving and how the wind affects their hair.
What?
Do you want to see this?
Not the full 5 minutes, but yeah, I guess I can give it a glance.
Well, we've seen a couple videos of the game. There's 4 main characters, all of them male, and they tend to drive around in this large black sedan, for lack of a better term, with the top down. And I guess this is their chance to show off how well the engine plays with the details of the physics in the game, because a lot of the time you get to see their hair blown around in just the different vistas and different view modes in the game. I know, it sounds weird, but I sent the video. IGN. Thank you, IGN. Content inappropriate for children, blah, blah, blah. My kids suck. Fine. And there you have it. 4 people standing on the side of a road. And then they decide to steal the Batmobile, apparently.
Oh, you can throw it in manual or in auto. Okay.
So you get a chance to actually drive the car or watch the car drive. And it looks like they've chosen auto. There are some nice textures on that vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can see the difference between leather and vinyl.
Yeah,
I wonder.
It's fairly impressive physics.
Yeah, there's a lot of. It's not like the hair is moving in large masses like it does from most games. It looks like there's. Let's not say independent hairs, but at least their hair is formed up of tufts that move independently.
Well, it's, all the hair gel or whatever they use.
Right.
I'm just kind of glad the game has its own soundtrack. I mean, if you could program your own, could you imagine how many people would be playing Bieber right now?
I'm pretty sure that it will let you put your own in if you play on the Xbox.
I was just noticing the eagle and the jacket of the guy in the rear right. Wow, that actually looks like you're driving down a hilly highway.
Hmm.
Travel along as one guy. That's some personal. Yeah, there's still some questions as to the engine, but that's not something anybody can figure out till they lay hands on the game. I've gotten used to the idea that the stills showing off games coming out will never tell the whole story. And he veers right off the cliff and into the sea.
I don't know why, but this reminds me of Half-Life 2 for some reason.
And he slams on the brakes, and the main character goes flying out of the car.
Hero, I bet you cannot jump into the sea from here.
Pardon my ignorance, but which one's the main character?
I have no
one in
fracking
the
clue.
back left.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's got suicide doors on it. Okay.
Yeah, why do people make those? Because I assume there's still a good reason they're still called suicide doors.
Because if you open them, opening them that way, the wind could carry them and rip them right off the car.
Yeah. So never open while driving.
Not preferably. You know that somebody will still try, though. So apparently they got out to feed those things, and now they're back in the car.
Did they just feed the birds or whatever those crocodile things were?
I don't think so. I think I'm just being lame.
Yeah, okay, I'm kind of done with this.
Yeah. I do think that's about far enough. It's interesting, though, to see how... Wow. Okay, there's details in the faces
Actually,
now, too.
Tunnel might be interesting. Have lights. Okay, there, it has lights.
Yeah, it takes a little while for the lighting to change.
Okay. And now we're out of the tunnel. That was uneventful.
Yeah, I'm good here. There's only a minute and a half left, but, there's only so many different ways you can describe hills.
Yeah.
There is a new bundle announcement coming for the Xbox One, and they're putting out a new special edition Lunar White wireless controller. This kind of looks like something you'd expect in a pretentious R&B artist home. It's an all-white controller with the exception of the D-pad and the top binding. Or not the D-pad, the thumbsticks. The D-pad itself is chrome gold. Although the buttons aren't color-coded like they are in most controllers. They just have little dots corresponding next to them of the color. You just have A, B, X, Y. Word is this is going to be out in late September as a GameStop exclusive. It's going to retail for $65. That's not bad for an exclusive.
Not too much, yeah. And it's not too much more expensive than a regular one.
Yeah, for an exclusive, that's a good price. Most exclusives run $70 to $75. And it's getting obvious that somebody seems to be really behind the Deadpool movie coming out, because it was recently announced that the Deadpool video game that came out a couple years ago is being revived for the Xbox One and PS4.
I did see it available on Steam for a short while again, too.
Yeah, they're going to re-release it, though, on November 17th. The whole game is coming out for the new consoles.
Nice.
Must have worked out the licensing.
I don't know. It may have just been somebody going, look, there's money to be made here.
Yeah. And
last up in video game news was probably the most exciting thing I saw thus far in the last 2 or 3 days. 343 Studios has released the entire opening to Halo 5 Guardians for people to peruse ahead of the game's release next month.
Yep, just watched it.
Oh, damn. So what exactly is available to peruse?
Well, I sent the video so you can find out for yourself. I like how it starts off saying exclusive Xbox. They just put out their first video that said, suck it, Sony. It's blue. That's got to be the most technologically advanced table I've ever seen.
I bet they don't let you put your drinks on it.
You could, but you need a lid on that sucker.
Massive destruction, Forerunner in origin. Dr. Catherine Elizabeth Halsey has managed to contact us.
Hey, look, it's an actual girl inside pink armor.
And in the gray one.
Your mission is to insert behind enemy lines, retrieve Halsey, and bring her back to infinity.
You know, Tuesday.
Be advised, Dr. Halsey is accompanied by Covenant Supreme Leader Jul Mdama. If you have the opportunity...
Covenant Supreme Leader Adama. Holy shit, the Battlestar is here.
Tracking gear online.
Affirmative. Say, before we make this jump, anybody want to say a few words?
I figure if God can hear...
It's amazing how the graphics right now are fine enough that you can actually get an idea as to characters' ethnicities without them opening their mouths now.
You buy.
Although Locke is a bit obvious.
The light is green.
And as a reminder, the guy playing Locke there is going to be Luke Cage in about a year.
Forgot about that.
Yep, Mike Coulter. You want to know how tough he is? He jumps out of planes without parachutes.
Master Chief's already done it. And he did it from orbit.
Yeah, well, Black Anvil did it first. There's a lot of objects in this video. You think that this video is the game engine or a CG engine?
It looks CG.
Yeah.
Like, it looks nice, but...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is CG. Yeah,
If it's
people
the
have already
game engine.
remarked on the fact that the race that they show in here look a little bit different.
What do you mean?
They don't look like the wraiths from the previous games.
Well, they're not going to. This is supposed to be a few years after the first 3 games, even.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. People have already remarked on it.
Which ones are there wraiths?
The
hovering tanks.
Yeah.
It's been a while
Ghosts
since I
are the
played
little
Halo.
ones, the wraiths are the ones that long distance bombarded you.
Yeah, if
Yeah, I
only
don't
the
think
combat could be... I was going to say, if only the combat could be as nuanced as half the stuff you see on the screen.
Yeah, I know.
Right? I haven't played Halo since, like, Halo 1 or 2.
It hasn't changed terribly since that point, however, this one is going to add a lot of new abilities.
I don't know. I've noticed a little bit of... I don't know if I want to say control change or just the feel of the game did change after the new company took over.
I didn't say it didn't change at all, I just said it didn't change terribly.
No.
So, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But from there, we get to move into Marvel Media News, talking about the Marvel Comics properties that are not going to end up on the comic book pages. And first up is kind of a big one. Marvel Studios has left the Marvel Entertainment umbrella.
Okay.
Wait, what?
As of yesterday, Marvel Studios is no longer under the purview of Marvel Entertainment. It is now directly answering to Disney Entertainment.
Huh.
In this move does keep Studios president Kevin Feige in his position. The early indications are that this move was done to remove Marvel CEO Ike Perlmutter from the equation. There is an anonymous source that has said that the Marvel CEO has led to several years of frustration within the Studios division. So Marvel Studios is now going to be officially integrated into the Walt Disney Studios, joining Pixar and Lucasfilms. But
that kind of makes sense.
It does overall. I mean, sometimes when you get too many voices talking into anything, it can create a whole lot of frustration. And speaking of which, the the creative committee that Marvel Studios had is also dissolved in this move. The creative committee was headed by Alan Fine, had Marvel writer Brian Michael Bendis, Dan Buckley, former editor-in-chief of Marvel Joe Quesada, and all of that has been dissolved as well, which means Kevin Feige is now the de facto man in charge. Some people are saying that it was dealing with this committee was what created the friction that caused Edgar Wright to leave the Ant-Man project.
Oh.
But again, a lot of people say that the large amount of frustration came from Marvel CEO Ike Perlmutter. Perlmutter was behind nixing any and all Black Widow toys, apparently.
Well, then I'm behind whatever got him out of the equation.
And those who stream will be excited because Netflix is getting Avengers Age of Ultron as of September 8th.
Yay!
Just 6 days from this recording, and it's about almost a full month before the DVD is available.
Wow.
And there is a teaser online via Vimeo, apparently of a deleted scene that teases possible friction that could lead to Captain America Civil War between Captain America and Maria Hill. They talk about preventative measures in dealing with Ultron and other villains and their difference of ideologies.
So, whose side is who on? Or what side is who on?
If you go with the traditional route based on their comic book characters, Captain America would be on one side and Maria Hill would be on another.
Well, yeah, I know, but the point.
Oh, well, there was, we discussed it a couple of days ago. There's some artwork that came out that detailed who ended up on whose side. On Captain America's side would be Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Agent 13 Sharon Carter, the Falcon, and the Winter Soldier. On Iron Man's side, according to the graphic, is the War Machine, the Black Widow, the Vision, and the Black Panther.
That's right, the Black Panther.
So, it's been noted in a couple prior stories that the Scarlet Witch is supposed to be on Cap's side, and from the few semi-credible leaks that are out there, it says that something that the Scarlet Witch does doesn't quite make enough distance, and it explodes, which creates the rift that causes the Civil War to kick off between registration and non-registration.
Oh, that's what they're going for.
I kind of find it interesting. I mean, when they originally did the Civil War, it was, a team that wasn't one that could be considered, having all the training and everything else. The fact that the Avengers themselves are the ones kicking off the registration/non-registration doesn't make as much sense to me. These are people that are already licensed by the government to do the superheroics and so forth. So,
actually, they're not.
Well,
if you remember,
I don't know. They're licensed by S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is part of the government, if I remember correctly.
S.H.I.E.L.D. does not exist, if you recall.
Oh, this is true.
So they're not governed by any agency except themselves, and they've got a private corporation bankrolling them. They're technically more like a private security concern than a government enforcement group.
Yeah, but even still, these are well-known heroes, well-accepted heroes.
They were well-known and well-accepted till the end of Age of Ultron, and then they're almost entirely unknowns. The Vision, the Scarlet Witch, the Falcon, and the War Machine.
Right.
So only half the team has had any formal training. The other half is not. So it would be an actual logical rift.
Yeah, it makes sense. I actually don't remember much between Cap and Maria Hill, but I know they've had some interesting scenes.
Actually, there was a scene in the Civil War comic book. A confrontation between Captain America and Maria Hill is what started the Civil War. After the event in that small town where a kindergarten was destroyed, S.H.I.E.L.D. was told, or S.H.I.E.L.D. was the enforcement arm of the U.S. government, and the government gave, I think, all superheroes 2 days from a date of a declaration, and was it midnight 2 days from the declaration, to fall in line or become enemies of the state. And Captain America was on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier when the time passed. He refused to register. Maria Hill told everybody in their rooms to arrest him. They pointed guns, and he broke out one of the observation windows.
Didn't know that.
Now that's how Civil War formally started.
Mm-hmm.
But in regards to Daredevil, Season 2 is already well underway filming.
Yay!
And somebody took a shot, kind of a sneaky shot during the filming that shows that there may be love in the air. Those who aren't very familiar in the comics probably already recognize that there was some kind of weird romantic tension between the characters of Matt Murdock and Karen Page.
Which one's Karen Page?
Remember the psychotic blonde that ended up working in their firm?
Oh, yes. Yeah, her.
Yeah, somebody took a picture of the two characters holding hands while they were being filmed. That could be taken all kind of ways in and out of context, so I don't know. But there is word that they did cast Elektra Natchios for Season 2, so this ought to get interesting really fast. And we finally have casting information on Luke Cage. As we said a few minutes ago, Mike Coulter from the Halo games is going to be the title character, Luke Cage himself. But it's just been announced that one of Luke Cage's gang mates, Shades, has been cast by Theo Rossi. Theo Rossi played the character of... what was the name? He played the character of Juice in Sons of Anarchy.
I'm not familiar.
He played a rather well-known character and one that ran through an emotional gamut through the course of that show. So he's a guy that can play multiple roles. Supposedly the character he's playing, Victor Shades Alvarez, will be both Cage's friend, and then he'll be an antagonist through part of the series. Probably because Cage is leaving the gang to do other stuff after he was sent to prison for something he actually didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good casting, though. He's actually become a well-known actor in his own right for a couple things he's done. And last up in Marvel media news, Andrew Garfield actually opened up about what the plan for Amazing Spider-Man 3 was supposed to be if he was still working on it. He told Cinema Blend, quote, "I was actually starting to workshop ideas with Alex Kurtzman, who's going to be writing it. We thought to kind of start from the base level, the foundational level of where we left Peter and where do we want to see him go and what's logical. How do we build upon where we left off with this deep, desperate moment with Gwen? So, yeah, we got to some pretty heavy places, and I was excited to kind of explore it and be involved in the ground level like that," unquote.
Hmm.
That is really not a lot of detail. I understand the sequel and everything, and I understand where it left off, but that's really not a lot of detail about the life of a character that is really tumultuous like Peter frickin' Parker.
Yeah, just kind of a background glimpse, I guess.
Yeah, he does not win very often. That's just his nature.
Poor guy.
In regards to DC media news, a guy who's worked on a couple of Marvel properties for different companies is now working for DC on the Supergirl TV series. His name is Jenna Dewan Tatum. He's going to be cast as General Lane, Lois and Lucy Lane's father, General Samuel Lane. And he's supposed to be a character that recruits Supergirl for a dangerous government initiative, whatever the hell that means. I don't know many government initiatives that are known to be, cuddly.
Well, desk job.
I sent you a picture so you could take a look and get an idea as to who he is. You've probably seen him in a bunch of different things by now.
I've seen him in things. I don't know what his name is or what I've seen him in precisely, but I've seen him.
He was in X-Men First Class as a senator, I think. And he was also in a couple of the Transformers movies as Ineffectual General Number 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But speaking of Lucy Lane, they... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I think I have that wrong. Jenna Dewan Tatum has been cast as Lucy Lane in the show. Actually, there's an image of her from Entertainment Weekly of what she's going to look like on set. I don't quite know what to make of this face she's making. It looks like a combination of glad to see you and, God, I really need to poop.
I think it's just one of those awkward smiles.
Could be.
Yeah.
They want to explore the history that Lucy has with the James Olsen, the grown-up Jimmy Olsen, according to the executive producer, Ollie Adler. Quote, "I think we're going to bring in her father. She not only plays a romantic foil with whatever Kara and James are brewing, but people will also be surprised that she's really a woman's woman. She and Kara develop their own relationship too. We're not just bringing her in to purposefully create tension. She serves a larger story drive," unquote. As a reminder, in the comics, Lucy Lane is a character that turned out to be Superwoman. She was a military member who was given a suit that helped mimic a Kryptonian's powers.
Mm-hmm.
And she was killed really unceremoniously during the course of that storyline. The actor playing General Sam Lane is... God. His name is Marshauer. Glenn Marshauer. So, it's it's a couple decent castings. However, I'm still not excited about the show overall. It didn't exactly turn my head. But there's still
Superman.
more. Well, there's still more casting when it comes to Supergirl. They've cast the Red Tornado and T.O. Morrow. His name is Ido Goldberg. He's been on Peaky Blinders and Salem. He's going to be cast as both the Red Tornado android and its creator, the inventor known as T.O. Morrow. Morrow is going to create the Red Tornado for the U.S. Army, but when the android gains sentience, it becomes a threat to National City and puts him in the crosshairs of Supergirl. Sounds like a recurring cast member. We also have a video this week of an encounter on two characters of Gotham. The character of Jerome, who's been rumored to be the Proto-Joker, and Barbara, Jim Gordon's crazy ex who tried to kill his current girlfriend. It is a 2-minute video. Dare we, or do we leave it?
Steve?
I'm willing to go either way with this.
I guess I can watch it.
People are brave. I sent the video. Who makes prison dresses?
Hi, gorgeous. I'm Jerome.
Keep moving, Ginger.
Just being polite. So what's she in for?
Killing my parents.
Me too. Well, Mom, anyhow. Liberating, right?
I like this actor when he's on Shameless, but he just... I don't know.
Yeah, alrighty then.
This is a bit over the top.
Yeah, somebody's pushing the ham level, and I've seen this kid do really good acting, so I'm going to guess the director is pushing him a little too much.
I think the director wants, like, everyone to pretend as if they are in a comic book.
So,
I still wonder, how'd she get the prison dress and the makeup?
be your friend.
Let me think. No.
Right? And her hair is, like, perfect.
Yeah. They actually allowed this lady's hair curlers? She stabbed her parents to death.
They happen all the time.
Right?
All the time.
Hey, you.
Her dress is very clean, too.
Hello? Baldy, here. Hello, yes. Hi. Come here.
Oh, is that who she was calling? I thought she was calling the cop. It's like she called
said
Ryback
Baldy.
over. Yeah. I wasn't sure where this was going.
Hi.
Hi.
He looks as unsure about what's going on in this scene as we do.
Would you be my friend?
Yes.
If someone here tries to hurt me, would you protect me?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Is it that easy to convince Crazy to do stuff? Because I'm going to assume this is Arkham Asylum.
Well,
Now I have a friend.
You're bad.
Yeah, so why don't you go make me a sandwich?
What?
I
Okay,
I find that last line amusing simply because my friend says that to his female sisters a lot.
I didn't find that amusing because I wasn't sure where the humor was in that.
it's
It
just
just-
surprising. Like,
Yeah,
off guard.
It's two characters trying to out-ham each other.
It's not the worst. It's not the greatest.
I suppose not. There's a new video on a service I'm not familiar with, so I don't think I can share it with you guys. It's another video from the set of the Suicide Squad, which closed its filming last week. And it's the Batman riding on the back of the Joker's Hot Wheel car in the movie.
What?
I'm sure you've seen the images from the Suicide Squad of the car the Joker's driving.
Yeah, I think we saw that a bit ago.
That gigantic, oversized purple Hot Wheel he's driving. It looks like somebody else took the same video from the filming of those particular scenes, and they were just at a different angle. So, yeah, I don't think we need to go back through that. I'm still confused by the car itself. Okay, Michael Shannon, about a week and a half ago, talked about how he apparently ran into trouble on the filming of Batman v Superman. He's the guy who played Zod in Man of Steel. And he said he was having trouble getting out of a closet because of some prosthetic flipper hands they put on him.
Right.
In speaking to the Daily Beast recently, Michael Shannon said that his character won't actually have flipper hands in Batman v Superman. In fact, he's not even in the movie. It's a quote. He laid out this scene about a week and a half ago where he was caught in a closet because they put these prosthetic flipper hands on him and he couldn't open the door, and he was yelling for people to let him out. He's afraid he's going to get fired. Then he said some grip who was actually paying attention opened the door for him. This week he says, quote, "I wasn't there. It was a really awkward situation. I'm in the trailer for a movie that I didn't work on." Unquote.
Oh, wow.
He said, quote, "The thing about the whole Krypton universe, apparently, is that even when you destroy them, there are ghosts. The first film, Jor-El is there even though he's been dead for Lord knows how long. I went over and did some voiceover stuff because it's like that ghost thing. But I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I got very nervous. Someone was asking me about this in New York, and I made up some ridiculous bullshit answer about how my character Zod has flippers. And this went viral on the internet or something, and people have been asking me about that. That is so obviously complete bull story, right? But people took it seriously, unquote.
Yes.
Shannon did say that he'd be willing to return to the franchise. Quote, maybe they should add it. I don't know. Maybe in part 3, Doomsday will have flipper hands. I mean, look, nothing would make me happier than to work with Zack Snyder again. He's hysterical, and he's a lot of fun to work with, unquote.
Yeah.
So, Shannon accidentally trolled the entirety of the internet.
That's too awesome.
And when it comes to Arrow, a new teaser has been put online about another potential character that the Green Arrow will run into in Season 4. And this came from Mark Guggenheim, the guy that's running DC Entertainment. Or at least the TV division of their DC properties.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he put up a postcard to a fictional city that has an interesting motto that's going to become very obvious. In brightest day, in blackest night, come to Coast City when the money's tight.
Okay.
So yeah, Batman's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a that is a ripoff of the Oath of the Green Lantern Corps. In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight.
Yep.
You know, also the thing
And
that Kevin
keeps
Smith
going.
says whenever he marries people. Now
Wait,
there
does
is
he really? Because I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, he does. He has them put their heads down, join their hands, and say, in brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Marriage is light.
Oh, it's pretty great, actually.
Yeah, we actually got to see that, not this last time, but the time before at the
Hard Rock.
podcast.
Yeah. It's also been announced that they have cast the voice actor who's going to play Zoom in Season 2 of The Flash. It's kind of interesting because he's not going to be the actor in the costume. They say that the character of Zoom is going to have a much more organic-looking costume, and his face is going to be completely covered. But to throw off people even more as to the identity of whomever the new evil speedster is, they've hired one actor just to do the voice work of the modulated villain's voice, trying to disguise himself. They've hired Candyman actor Tony Todd to do it. I have a feeling you don't know who that is.
Nope.
Okay, let me put this in terms that's more likely to make sense. Star Trek The Next Generation. Do you remember the actor who played Worf's erstwhile unknown brother, Kern?
Yes.
That's Tony Todd.
I see.
I remember the name now.
So he is going to be the voice of Professor Zoom, although we still don't know which actor is going to be inside the suit yet. And last up in DC media news is another teaser when it comes to The Flash. All it is a simple image, and it says on it, "Get up to speed." When you see the image, it's going to be pretty obvious why they're using another velocity pun. The series premieres on October 6th.
Mm-hmm.
As Jay Garrick's helmet, the first Flash. I don't know. It's one of those things where if it wasn't for the legacy of the character, I almost find that thing laughable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, I know he's supposed to portray Mercury, but that's okay. I can let it slide. I know who the character is, and I don't feel the need to make fun of it just for its look. We move from there into general media news. We talk about the nerdy entertainment properties that are not Marvel or DC related. First up, Star Wars The Force Awakens. Just because it's opening up this December doesn't mean that anybody at Disney is resting on their laurels. They're starting work on the sequel to this movie already, Episode 8 of Star Wars. And right now, they are testing 3 actresses to see who may become the female lead in this movie.
Ooh, who they've got up?
Interestingly, they've got 3 actresses on a short list they'd like to talk to. Olivia Cooke from Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, Gina Rodriguez from Jane the Virgin, and Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black.
She's a title, or the main actress, yes?
Yeah, she's the one who. Yeah, she's the one who plays all the clones.
She's really good. I don't really like the show for whatever reason, but at least the first episode.
Well, she's just that show pretty much shows that she's one of the most versatile actresses that are out there today, and she's young. You want to talk about somebody you can build a franchise around? I think that's the lady. But the casting process has only just begun, and there are several yet unnamed actresses also expected to audition. One of the sources, according to the Wrap, says that the final candidates for the casting of this role will have to do a screen test with John Boyega as Finn. Star Wars Episode 8 is scheduled to come out May 26, 2017. Isn't that frighteningly close to one of the Infinity War movies?
I bet both will still get seen.
I didn't say they wouldn't both get seen, and I'm willing to bet Disney wouldn't stack their movies on top of each other. They're not suicidal. Although, considering the power of Star Wars and the Avengers right now, I doubt it really matters if they open on the same day. In news that's going to make V and my wife really excited, Alex Kingston is going to Cardiff.
Wait. I don't recognize the name.
Okay, Cardiff is where they tape Doctor Who. Alex Kingston is the name of the actress who plays Dr. River Song.
Oh, right.
Word is that she's being brought in to tape this year's Christmas special.
Huh.
And she's coming in as the character of River Song once again, and this will be her first meeting with a Peter Capaldi Doctor. Some people are speculating that this may be fun because now you're going to have two characters who are both willing to snipe at each other and have no regard for each other's feelings.
They have a weird relationship.
If you can call it that.
They have a weird almost relationship.
There you go. They have a weird relationship as much as anybody can find a relationship on Ashley Madison. The co-creator of Arrow is making a gothic show about the brides of Dracula, apparently. NBC has taken Greg Berlanti, who's a producer on The Flash, The Arrow, and Supergirl, and they're making a pilot for the show called Brides. It's going to follow 3 female vampires as they live in modern New York City.
Okay.
And all 3 brides will be the brides of Dracula. They're still alive after not being killed by Van Helsing. Deadline is describing the show as, quote, a sexy reimagining of Dracula as a family drama with a trio of strong, diverse females. A show about empowered women and the things they'll do to maintain wealth, prestige, legacy, and their non-traditional family, unquote. I quit. This does not sound like a show
family.
for me. Yeah. So it's modern family with bloodsuckers.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. The Mad Max movies are coming to Steam.
Okay.
There's a listing that was found by a Steam DB listing that Valve Service is about to start screening the 4 Mad Max movies, starting from the original 1979 all the way through to 2015's Fury Road.
It
doesn't say
just
when
straight up the videos, not games or anything, correct?
Correct. It doesn't say when exactly this would be occurring. However, based on the release date for Fury Road, I imagine they've already started DVD sales, so this could happen any time if Steam actually has the license. That'd be one way to spend an evening, have a Mad Max, movie marathon?
Yeah. Getting through the first one was hard. I haven't watched any of those yet.
Yeah, I think I've watched them all, but no, I haven't watched the newest one.
I've seen them all except Fury Road, and they can be highly entertaining as long as you just don't take it very seriously.
Yeah, just watch it with a friend and laugh at it.
Yeah. Buy something sugary, get hopped up, and just enjoy how weird this is going to be.
Or just play a drinking game. I don't know what it would be, but...
Well, last up in...
Sure.
Yeah. A drinking game. Every time Mel Gibson looks like he's about to kill a Jew, take a shot. Last up in general media news is a recall story because I had to I had to read this for V because I want her reactions to all of this.
Okay.
And I'm sure Steve already knows what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, V, you ever wanted to take a cruise?
Oh, I think I know what you're about to talk about. I hadn't until... Go on.
William Shatner has been picked to headline the first official Star Trek cruise.
Yes. Oh my god, I want to go. I think it would be a great honeymoon place.
In January 2017, there will be a 6-day voyage around the Caribbean, complete with a visit to Star Trek Island, which will be based on the planet from the new generation, Risa. Didn't know that part?
I didn't know that part. Oh my god.
William Shatner said, quote, "I'm excited to be the host of Star Trek The Cruise. When I was told that this was the first authorized Star Trek cruise and part of the 50th anniversary celebration, I just knew that my participation would be something that our fans would enjoy. It should be a lot of fun." Joining Shatner for this cruise, did you know about who else is on this boat?
Honestly, I just knew that Shatner was in it.
Okay, I'll read the names in reverse. Casey Biggs, Vaughn Armstrong, Steve Rankin, Denise Crosby, James Darren, John Delancey, Robert Picardo, Jonathan Frakes, and Marina Sirtis.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I knew they had to do Jonathan Frakes because, quite frankly, Will Riker should have, like, his own freaking property on Risa with as often he's been there.
Right.
Well, they've named a few of the events happening in this 2017 cruise. Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes will be performing love letters. Robert Picardo will be hosting a Star Trek-style Family Feud game. Denise Crosby will be doing a tap dancing act. And John Delancey will be playing Q, hosting a masquerade ball.
Perfect.
I think we just heard the sound of her pleasure center going off multiple times.
I want to go on this now.
Well, you can sign up at StarTrekTheCruise.com. The deposits max out at about $400 per person. The average prices, according to what we were looking at, the interior staterooms were about, I think $1,500 per person.
Yeah.
However, if you were willing to spend, was it $7,500 per person, you could get a 4,200 square foot suite complete with butler service. How crazy is that?
That's insane.
Unfortunately, though, that almost sounds worth it. You're basically living in a small house on this goddamn boat as things happen. There are some mid-level stuff. For $6,000, you can get a reservation in a 572 square foot villa. It says up to 6 guests can enjoy these villas that are perfect if you want to bring the kids. They have 1 bedroom with a queen-size bed and luxury bath and shower, as well as separate children's bedroom. Also features a living area, dining area, and private balcony. You will also have access to the private courtyard area. It includes butler and concierge service.
Nice.
Yeah. See, I'd be far more willing to go on this if it wasn't like $1,500 per person. It's like if I could split the cost somehow.
Yeah.
The cheapest it gets are the interior staterooms, but those prices can range from $1,500 per person down to $975 a person.
That's more
that
reasonable.
would be $975 would be a lot.
I could save up for that, I think.
Yeah, if I took an entire year.
I could actually do that. I'd have to go with somebody, though, because I know I'd have to fly the frack out to the East Coast to do this if it's Caribbean, and it's a Norwegian Pearl cruise. At least it's not Princess Cruise. Terrible things tend to happen to those.
Do I want to know?
Their ships frequently seem to lose power, and they're stuck out in the ocean for 3 or 4 days waiting for a tow.
That's no good.
You know, these are this is the company that also has issues because when the power's lost, they lose everything, which means people are crapping in buckets for a while.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. I think they're also the cruise line that has mysterious, like, stomach bugs that come out every now and again. You know, over half the boat is sick and vomiting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll move away from that. I'm happy enough as it is. First up in Marvel comic news, they're looking to give a crazy backstory to the Mockingbird and personal stakes in her upcoming S.H.I.E.L.D. special. It's going to be the Mockingbird S.H.I.E.L.D. 50th anniversary special. It's going to be a solo outing for Bobby Morse, which is kind of rare in Marvel Comics. She's usually attached to other characters.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might know her best as Hawkeye's ex-wife, but other people are more familiar with her as the one of the breakout stars of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show.
Like me.
So this is going to be a rare solo gig for the Mockingbird. Also, the Daredevil finale comes out today. They're ending the Daredevil comic. This is the pre-Secret War storyline to Daredevil anyway. That came out today. The final issue is the end of a run by Chris Samney and Mark Waid. And it seems like at the end of this, he's caught up in a battle between the Kingpin and the Shroud. Talk about a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
There's ongoing comic book news I didn't expect post-Secret Wars. We just got word that there's going to be a new Starbrand and Nightmask series. Starbrand and Nightmask are kind of an interesting story when it comes to Marvel Comics because the original characters of Starbrand and Nightmask weren't even Marvel Comics characters. They were part of a smaller company that was bought out. I can't remember which company they came from at the time. But this story is also different because the characters more recently, the Marvel Now initiative, both became Avengers as a result of a few things going on in the first few issues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you recall that from our reading.
No,
it was the first
not
issues. It was the first issues of Avengers that involved the characters of Abyss and Ex Nihilo. The Starbrand had an explosion of energy around him, killed most of the people he knew in a small town, I think. The Nightmask is supposed to be the opposite side of that. But the funny thing is, these two characters, they're not having specifically superhero adventures, they're going to college. So this is going to be part of their ongoing, is that they're going to have a juxtaposition of cosmic adventure and college classes, and it's already been said that they happen to be going to the same college as another Marvel character.
Who?
They're going to run into Doreen Green a few times.
Who's that?
Doreen Green is the real name of the hero known as Squirrel Girl.
I still think her name is just hilarious.
I couldn't even imagine what those meetings are going to be like, let alone, do you think she'd be allowed in the cafeteria? Because you know there's got to be at least one rodent in her hair. We also have information about another ongoing coming out post-Secret Wars. Spider-Man 2099, the character of the Spider-Man from an alternative future. It turns out when the new series starts, Miguel O'Hara is going to be happily employed at Parker Industries, and because there's so many Spider-Men already in New York City, he decides he doesn't need to be one. He's going to start out this series sans costume. So that's leading to a question as to whether or not Miguel O'Hara is even going to be the Spider-Man 2099, or if there's another character coming. But the character is actually getting a new costume for this. It's the first new costume in the history of Spider-Man 2099. And it's one of those things I'm of mixed minds about. There are things I like about the design and things I'm not too crazy about. Here is... I don't know if this is promo art or the first cover without text on it, but this is the new costume.
Oh, that's cool.
What's the deal with the spikes?
I'm not entirely sure.
Weird, but
yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Spider-Man 20
fingers on his hands.
No, I think that's just.
I see another one curled up in there.
Yeah, that's just perspective. The Spider-Man 2099, like I said, I'm not sure how crazy I'm about this costume, but I gotta admit, the character was originally created in, I think, 1999, so you can imagine what the design was all about back then. And what can I say? The costume is still interesting to me, but it doesn't age well. Let me send you guys a picture of the original costume so you have a comparison. And that webbing behind him is not cast-off webbing. He actually has like a small capelet of webbing that comes off his bat. So, like I said, I like the original costume. Doesn't age well.
Yeah. Oh, but I guess he did have those spikes. So
yeah, it does appear to be a constant. Marvel announced this week the artist for the new ongoing Scarlet Witch series after the Secret Wars. They went with Kevin Wada. Wada detailed the process of designing Wanda's new costume for this new series. It looks like post-Secret Wars. It doesn't look like she's going to be involved with any team. She's going to be on her own entirely. Said, quote, "When Marvel reached out to me to redesign the Scarlet Witch, I jumped and I cried. I hibernated for a bit. I was excited, nervous, incapacitated. Of course I said yes. How could I not? It was highly collaborative creating this. The initial prompt was to make the Scarlet Witch luxuriously goth and darkly romantic. Something modern and glamorous and fashiony, which we reeled back as revisions went on. We pulled a bit from noirish femme fatales and contemporary witchy fashions. They wanted me to create a new headpiece inspired by jewelry, hair accessories, so the first pass was very non-traditional," unquote. He actually added to his story to Newsarama, he added a graphic of his design process. God, it looks like it went through a bunch of different permutations before they decided on something. Take a look at how much he tried. It runs the gamut.
Wow. I wonder what the X next to that top left one means.
Quote, "In step 1, all the figures with a blue X were the concepts I liked the best. They wanted her to be in some kind of long red coat as well to reimagine her cape. The coat was probably one of the more fun aspects to play around with. Step 2 involved reworking Wanda's iconic headpiece. In step 2, they wanted me to bring more of the traditional headpiece into the new redesign. The height and color had to be there. You can sort of chart the progression of my brainstorming as the piece went from very unrecognizable to something of a hybrid between old and new. It would have been fun to make it totally unique and integrating more, but integrating more iconography was smart, I think," unquote. And actually, he added a second image of the evolution of the headpiece he was talking about. God damn, it looks like he did nothing but the Scarlet Witch for a couple weeks. The Scarlet Witch is written by James Robinson. It's going to have a rotating art team on every issue. It starts out in December of this year.
That can be a good thing or it could be a bad thing.
Yeah. Well, would you like to see the design that it seems like they finally settled on?
Sure.
This is the new redesign of the Scarlet Witch.
Interesting.
I like it.
I give it about 2 months before I see it in comic book conventions.
I want her corset.
Hey, I only say 2 months because that headpiece is going to be hard to deal with.
Yeah. But it does look... It reminds me of something existing, although I'm not familiar with it.
It's reminiscent of, I think, Romanian jewelry. You know, you watch enough James Bond, you'll see stuff like that. Marvel's also announced a new Weird World series launching in December as well. It's spinning out of the current Secret Wars tie-in miniseries by the same name. It's going to be written by Sam Humphries and Mike Del Mundo as artist. According to Humphries, quote, "Weird World is a place where anything can happen. Weird World is a place inside the Marvel Universe. Weird World is a place where the lost can be found, but only if you are strong enough. Weird World is a place that is ever-changing, always chaotic, and a place of infinite discovery. Its essential nature is so mysterious that no complete map can ever be created. It's a polyglot of fantasy, horror, sci-fi, and other weird things dug up from the brains of myself and Mike Del Mundo," unquote. I'm not sure what to pull out of that. But
they're trying. They're trying really hard.
Yeah, Humphries adds a bit more. Quote, "The main character of this book is Becca, a 16-year-old girl from Earth who doesn't land on Weird World. She crashes into it. She's just a normal girl who was already in the middle of her own tragic Earthbound quest. Now her quest has become even more difficult. She must find her way home through a place where good and evil are subsumed in a hurricane of madness," unquote. Joining Becca in this quest is 3 new characters, a wizard named Ogeode, a barbarian named Goletta, and something called Cat Beast.
Okay.
Almost sounds like the beginnings of Masters of the Universe. I don't know what the hell this is about. And last up in Marvel comic news, we found out a little bit more about one of the spin-off series we discovered during San Diego Comic-Con, the New Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you recall, but the New Avengers is going to be a team of Avengers headed up by Sunspot. The team consists of a new character called Pod, and a bunch of long-standing fan favorites from other series, including Songbird, Wiccan, Hulkling, Hawkeye, and Squirrel Girl.
It could be an interesting lineup.
Yeah, but Al Ewing and Gerardo Sandoval are building this entirely new team. And the thing is, they finally started detailing some of what's going to happen in this book. And the more I read, the more I want to know. The more I actually want this book. Sunspot has somehow taken control of Advanced Idea Mechanics.
AIM.
Idea Mechanics?
Yeah, Advanced Idea Mechanics, or AIM. They were the company that you saw in Iron Man 3. The crazy scientists who were gene splicing. Except in the comic... Yeah. In the comics, they're more known for bright yellow outfits. They're called the Beekeepers. But they are a technologically advanced group. But here's the thing. According to the writers, AIM is going to be treated more like the Q branch of this team of Avengers. They're going to be responsible for gearing them up.
I like gear.
Yeah, there will be standard issue gravity belts for the team members who can't fly, light benders for stealth missions and so on, plus some specialized gear designed for each of the members of this team. Sunspot is trying to rehab the image of Advanced Idea Mechanics. They've gotten rid of all the old guard who was running it. It's his company now.
Well, he did have a lot of money to spend.
Yeah, admittedly. But because of it, he's also on the world's most wanted list.
Huh.
If the new Avengers are caught, if Sunspot is caught anywhere that has an extradition treaty, he will be extradited to the U.S. and S.H.I.E.L.D. custody. Remember, he's running Advanced Idea Mechanics, who, according to S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Marvel Universe, that's a terrorist organization.
Right. Well, the other thing, I didn't hear you mention Sam Guthrie, so...
He's not in this book.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting as well.
And the writers seem to be very specific in picking their characters. They wanted Wiccan and Hulkling because they're cool. They wanted Sunspot because he was the guy who this whole team was formed around. Hawkeye adds legitimacy. They also got White Tiger and Power Man from the last volume of the Mighty Avengers because the writer feels like there were stories untold. He also added Songbird because he felt like this was the trajectory the character was headed on, from villain to Thunderbolt to Avenger. And he added Squirrel Girl because squirrels are cool. So, yeah, the more I read about this, the more curious I became. I want to read this book now. What do you guys think?
It sounds interesting.
Agreed.
Well, from there, we also have DC comic news, and unfortunately, don't have quite as much as Marvel did. Marvel came out with a glut of news for 2 days, didn't they?
Yeah.
DC is bringing a new series called Superman, Lois and Clark. And no, it doesn't have Dean Cain. It's a new comic series where they're bringing the pre-reboot married Superman and Lois Lane back to the main DC continuity somehow. According to the writer, or according to DC Comics, I should say, Superman, Lois and Clark #1 will feature their 9-year-old son Jonathan, who's starting to figure out who his parents really are. Apparently, his parents have been in hiding for a while in the main DC universe. So, obviously, that means little Johnny Boy is going to be a superpowered being of some sort.
Yeah, it's just kind of got to be an awkward conversation.
Son, have I ever told you about the time I moved a planet? What? Tractor. I said tractor. So, apparently, this will be part of the new fuzzy continuity that DC is running. Or maybe this is part of what we read a couple days ago about DC getting nervous about their money loss and they want to go back to meat and potato stories. Maybe this is their excuse on how they can tell some of them. I'm only spitballing because I don't know for sure, but hey, the timing of this is a little auspicious compared to what we read a couple days ago. Speaking of new concepts, Jim Gordon as the Batman is running into his first major villain that seems tailor-made for him. As of issue 44 of Detective Comics, he's going to run face-to-face with some kind of Joker robot.
I was just going to say, is it the Joker?
Yeah, it's like it looks to be about a story and a half tall Joker robot. The dialogue between them is a little weird, too. You've got to be kidding me. A Joker robot? You sound surprised. Well, I am. You didn't think there could be a Batman robot without one, did you? To be honest, it never crossed my mind.
Nor mine.
Yeah, I can't say Joker Robot would be high on my priority list when it comes to creating new villains. Does that make you more curious to read about the new Batman or less?
Personally, less. I would be far more intrigued to see him going up against the Joker.
I would agree with you. I do think when it comes to a new Batman, you need new villains. You got to have some of the ones in the Rogue Gallery for him to deal with, but the only way for a character to gain legitimacy on its own is to come up with some new villains that are just really challenging for it. And this design, honestly, doesn't work for me. I sent you guys a link so you could take a look at the image. The design of this Joker robot is a little bare, honestly. If you didn't call it a Joker robot, I'd almost swear it's a Penguin's robot.
He doesn't have... Yeah. He certainly doesn't have the color scheme.
Well, no, he does. The green and the purple, but...
Only very vaguely, though.
Yeah, I was looking more for white, I guess.
Actually, you know what would be a perfect enemy for this version of Batman? Bring back Azrael. Jean-Paul Valley was a character who, when Bruce Wayne got his back broken, he took over as Batman, but he didn't like how Bruce Wayne did things, so he started adding a lot of touches from his own fighting style, including an exosuit. He had this bizarre Bat Knight armor that it screamed the 90s. That's the best way I can put it to you. But he was also crazy, and when Bruce Wayne got his legs back and came to fight, or came to retake the mantle of the Bat, Azrael wouldn't give it up. The two of them had to fight it out.
And I mean, honestly, that would make more sense too. Just, I don't know what ended up happening to the character, but now you have somebody else taking over the mantle of the Bat, and him showing up going, I have dibs.
Yeah. Azrael, if I remember correctly in the comic books, died. However, I will say, it's comic books.
Right.
They come back to life all the damn time. V, I will send you... Whoa. I just found an image of the Azrael bat armor, and oh my god, it screams 90s. It's ugly as sin, in retrospect. Take a look at this.
Ew. That is ugly.
But wouldn't that almost be fitting? Azrael comes back, the first Batman in an exosuit, and wants the title for himself instead of giving it to this cop.
Yeah.
That would actually make a really good story now that I've said that out loud.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. He comes back and says, no, I got dibs. Come on.
Yeah.
The thing that disturbs me the most about this Joker robot is the exposed reactor right in the middle.
I noticed that, and that's... The only way that would be interesting is if that thing is powered by 100% pure Joker gas.
That's what, that was the only thing I was like, okay, some kind of chemical that, the Joker's known for. Okay, I guess I can see that. But at the same time, it's like, yeah. Yeah,
but the Joker appears to be as offline as Batman right now. Or Bruce Wayne, I should say. Wouldn't that be a weird juxtaposition, though? You break this thing down and you risk releasing 3 city blocks worth of Joker gas? Oh, well. I'm only spitballing. Yeah. There's another new series coming in October from DC. It's called Titans Hunt. Let me say that cleanly so people don't misunderstand me. Titans Hunt. It's part of the new DCU campaign. Apparently, they're going to create a new series that will somehow link the current Teen Titans to the pre-reboot Teen Titans. I really don't know how that's possible. The two teams involve the same members in different forms in some degree. So I don't quite know how this will work. The new story is going to give them a Titans-associated connection, something they lost in the New 52 reboot. That's really confusing to me. Because the Teen Titans before the reboot included characters like Donna Troy, Dick Grayson, or Tim. God, what was his last name? Tim Drake.
Yeah.
Tim Drake. It also involved Cyborg, Roy Harper. All characters who, for the most part, have already shown up in the New 52 DC in different roles. Donna Troy is a sorcerer's-created homunculus. Roy Harper has both arms and is not drug-addled. Cyborg is now a member of the Justice League. Beast Boy is red. I don't know how they're going to be able to draw this connection. And unfortunately, I doubt they're really going to tell you how until the book comes out.
Yeah.
Right.
Although the Teen Titans is one of the few books I might check out on my own simply because I was liking where they were going before the reboot. But I don't know if... I still don't know how the two connect. And last up in DC comic news, George Marston from Newsarama was nice enough to put up the 10 greatest Flash villains of all time, according to the comic books.
Okay. This should be good.
It's not one of those things I generally read, but I figure all of our DC history is kind of lacking, so maybe we'll learn something. Number 10 on the list of the 10 greatest Flash villains of all time is the Glider.
Okay.
Quote, Glider is one of the biggest beneficiaries of DC's most recent relaunch. Having begun life as Golden Glider, a villainous ice skater, Brian Bucoletto and Francis Manapul's reimagining of Lisa Snart as an intangible mastermind able to possess people and clad in one of the New 52's coolest costumes elevated the character to a place she never could have gotten before. Now, still the sister of Captain Cold, she is also the lover of Mirror Master and the current leader of the Rogues. Lisa Snart also appeared on several episodes of the CW's Flash, where she possesses a gun that turns people into gold and goes by her original moniker, Golden Glider, unquote. Actually, I'm taking a look at the image of what the New 52 Glider looks like. That is a good costume. I haven't read any of the post-52 Flash. Take a look at this. That's actually nifty the way they did it. It's very ephemeral.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit that their description does make it sound like Glider had a hell of a upgrade compared to what she used to be pre-52.
Well, it's kind of hard to imagine an ice skater being taken seriously outside of an ice rink.
Even if you're the Flash, it's just like run on the ice, melt it, be done with it. Number 9 on this list, the Pied Piper. Quote, the Pied Piper.
I do remember that, yep.
Yep. Quote, the Pied Piper might be much higher on this list if he hadn't spent so much time waffling between heroism and villainy. Indeed, Harley Rathaway is one of the most complex villains to cross the Flash's path. Despite having challenged Barry Allen as a villain on numerous occasions, Piper eventually reformed, becoming close friends with Allen's successor, Wally West. Though he's been something of a hero, or at least an anti-hero, for quite some time, the recent Rogue's Revenge miniseries saw him once again allying with the Flash's sworn enemies, albeit in the pursuit of defeating the crime syndicate. Pied Piper has also appeared on the CW's Flash using a variety of sonic weaponry, unquote. The Pied Piper, I admit, on this list is probably the one I was the most familiar with off the top of my head. During the time I was reading up on the Blackest Night, he was having an adventure with the old trickster where he was trying to escape the rogues because they saw him as traitors.
Mm.
And that's also the adventure where the old trickster died.
Ah.
Item number 8 on this list is a name I know, but not a character I'm terribly familiar with. Captain Boomerang.
Oh, God.
Quote, Captain Boomerang may be more than a little goofy, but when you get past his boomerang pajamas and his little hat, he's kind of emblematic of what Flash's rogues are all about. Digger Harkness is a hard-luck criminal with little idea of what to do with his throwing skills and boomerang collection than to strap them to his crazy gadgets and start hurling them at the Flash. Step 3 of that plan is profit, but darned if Harkness has any idea how to reach that goal. But that never stops him from trying, and even sometimes succeeding in some pretty villainous stuff, like killing Tim Drake's dad. Captain Boomerang also appeared as a member of the Suicide Squad on Arrow, and will also be a member of Task Force X in the Suicide Squad live-action film next year, unquote.
Right, that's where I heard about him before. I was like, why have I heard about this character? He seems so ridiculous.
Next up, number 7 is the Weather Wizard. Yep. Quote, who but the Weather Wizard could challenge the combined might of Superman and the Quick Bunny? But seriously, one of the things that makes Mark, or Marco in the New 52, Martin, such a great villain is his crossover appeal. His weather manipulation abilities make him one of the most powerful rogues, and having challenged at least 3 Flashes, even playing a part in the death of Bart Allen, he's also proven his chops in ways few others have. But he's also challenged Superman, the Justice League, and served on numerous villain teams, making him not just a great Flash villain, but a great villain all around. In fact, he's so great the CW's Flash has gone to the well with him not once, but twice with 2 different characters, unquote. Yeah, in the Flash TV series, the first episode is the Weather Wizard. That character dies by gunshot to the head thanks to Detective Allen, or Detective West. And then late in the first season, his brother shows up with the exact same powers. Although more refined. And at least that character doesn't just think about thinking big when it comes to his villainy. Item number 6 on this list, I can almost guarantee neither of you will have heard of before unless you read some comics recently. Savitar.
Savitar?
Yep. Quote, a former test pilot who was struck by lightning while flying an experimental plane. Sentences like that almost make comics awesome. Savitar found himself with strange Speed Force-related powers and began building a cult around his abilities. Savitar gained his powers in the 40s and pitted himself against Johnny Quick and Max Mercury, who thought him defeated after Mercury abandoned him in the Speed Force. Savitar later reappeared, discovering his cult had grown while he was lost in time, and challenged Wally West, whose speed Savitar could not steal. After Savitar's defeat at the hands of West and his allies, Savitar was once again stuck in the Speed Force until returning to challenge Barry Allen and becoming a victim of the Reverse Flash's entropic sabotage of Allen's powers, which caused Savitar to age into dust, unquote. I don't know how he made it on this list at number 6. For such a great villain, it sounds like he didn't have too many good appearances. That's a personal opinion. I can be wrong. Maybe there's something in the context of the books I'm missing. However, number 5 is a name that's going to be familiar to comic book fans, Mirror Master. Quote, the original Mirror Master, Sam Scudder, was a master of illusion using his mirror gun to vex and addle the Scarlet Speedster at every turn. One of the more gruff members of the Rogues, Scudder's abilities were a product of his own ingenuity. A lifelong criminal, Scudder became obsessed with getting inside a mirror's reflection while in prison and eventually developed technology to achieve his goal. Scudder died in Crisis on Infinite Earth and was briefly replaced by Digger Harkness, who eventually went back to being Captain Boomerang. Huh. After Scudder's death, a new Mirror Master, Evan McCullough, a Scottish mercenary, appeared. Like his fellow rogues, Captains Boomerang and Cold, McCullough spent time on the Suicide Squad, although he also battled a cocaine addiction, a situation expressly forbidden by the rogues. McCullough has not appeared in the New 52, with Scudder having returned as one of the primary rogues, unquote. That is way complicated. Item number 4 is one of the roles that, I guess you could say Mark Hamill made famous, the Trickster. Quote,
That's
James,
true.
Yeah, Mark Hamill played the Trickster now in 2 different Flash series. Quote, James Jesse was a circus performer and con man with a penchant for inventing genius gadgets and then hiding them inside goofy gags. Using his engineering know-how and his twisted sense of humor to vex the Flash, Jesse utilized such magnificent inventions as airwalking shoes and a variety of circus-themed weaponry, as one of Barry Allen's greatest and most obnoxious foes. After Allen's death, Jesse was lured into hell by Neron during the Underworld Unleashed event. Unlike most of his compatriots, however, Jesse was smart enough to recognize Neron as a demon and use his wits to defeat him. After this, Jesse turned coat, deciding to work on the side of the Angels. A second trickster, Axel Walker, has never gained the prestige of James Jesse, often attempting to join the Rogues or allying with them only to find himself on the outs due to his psychotic nature and willingness to kill, something the Rogues are usually forbidden to do. Still, Walker remains the current iteration of the Trickster, though it seems some version of James Jesse does exist in the New 52 as Walker's predecessor. Both Axel Walker and James Jesse appeared in CW's The Flash, with Mark Hamill reprising his role as the older Trickster from the CBS 1990s The Flash series, unquote. Yeah, a lot of people credit Mark Hamill's portrayal of James Jesse as the reason why he got the role as the Joker in the Batman animated series.
I could see that.
I could see it too.
Number 3 on this list is probably a character a lot more people are familiar with now that the first season of The Flash is over, Grodd. Quote, nothing... It just says Grodd. Apparently he's no longer Gorilla, because I guess that's kind of obvious.
Yeah, that is true.
Quote, nothing says comic books like a telepathic, super intelligent gorilla in a purple cape. Honestly, if you need more than that to understand what makes Grodd such an amazing villain, I don't know what to do for you. But more than just representing another perfectly executed yet simple concept for a Flash villain, Grodd has strong ties to the Flash mythos. Hailing from Gorilla City, a hidden society of highly evolved apes with ties to the Speed Force, Grodd has tried time and again to infiltrate and conquer man's world, butting heads not just with numerous Flashes, but the Justice League, Wonder Woman, and the rest of the cream of DC superhero crop. Grodd recently appeared in the New 52 largely intact, though with his powers boosted by the Speed Force, and later on he took over Central City and renamed it Gorilla City. Although depicting Grodd as he is in comics might seem like a tall order on a TV budget, CW's The Flash featured a version of the character who gained his mental abilities from a series of experiments, unquote. Well, we're down to the last 2 of the 10 greatest Flash villains of all time, according to George Marston and Newsarama. Any guesses as to who one of them would be?
No idea.
Reverse Flash.
Sort of. Number 2 is Zoom. Quote, several villains have worn the mantle of Zoom, or Professor Zoom, or sometimes called Reverse Flash over the years. The original Zoom, Eobard Thawne, proved to be such a menace that Barry Allen was forced to kill him to save his girlfriend's life, leading to Allen's trial for murder. Later, Hunter Zolomon, an ally of Allen's successor, Wally West, with a history not unlike a twisted reflection of Allen's, took up the mantle of the Reverse Flash after a strange explosion caused him to become unstuck in time. Eventually, Thawne reappeared, using his time travel abilities to wreak havoc on the also newly resurrected Barry Allen's past, eventually causing the Flashpoint Crisis, which broke reality and led to the formation of the New 52. In the New 52, a new Reverse Flash, Daniel West, appeared. In recent issues, Eobard Thawne has returned and begun assembling a team of villains with connections to the Speed Force to take down Barry Allen. While Harrison Wells was revealed as the alter ego of Eobard Thawne in CW's The Flash, a new version of Zoom will appear in Season 2, voiced by Tony Todd, unquote.
See, I can respect the name Zoom. It's not the best or most original, but it's a hell of a lot better than Reverse Flash.
You know, I like Jesse's idea of just shortening and calling him Rev.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's the best idea I've ever heard for that character. And last up, and number 1 on the list of the 10 greatest Flash villains of all time, quote, when it comes to Flash enemies, none of them truly embodies what being a rogue is all about more than Captain Cold. A dyed-in-the-wool crook with a heart of gold, Len Snart is one of the Flash's oldest foes, and certainly his most persistent. The de facto leader of the Rogues and their moral center, as twisted as he is, Cold has often shown more cunning than his parka and simple freeze ray would let it on, culminating in allying with Lex Luthor and several other villains as an instrumental part of defeating the crime syndicate during Forever Evil. And despite years as a straight-up criminal, it looks like Cold may be turning over a new leaf, joining the Justice League. However, when it comes to a bona fide bad guy like Cold, it's only a matter of time before the siren song of a life of crime comes calling again. Interestingly, the TV version of Captain Cold also appears to be turning over a new leaf, joining a team of heroes on CW's Arrow and the Flash spin-off DC's Legends of Tomorrow, unquote. You know, I actually do feel like I learned something from that list. There were a couple backgrounds I was completely blank on. I didn't know Mirror Master's story was so back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is general comic book and convention news. We talk about comic book news that isn't Marvel or DC related, as well as news on some of the conventions going on around the world. And the first story of 3 is actually of big importance to everybody in this room. There's a new financial study that has been released to the city of San Diego for review on a potential expansion to the San Diego Convention Center, finally.
Okay.
What kind of expansion?
There's actually 3 options that have been offered for expansion of the convention center. Option A is a contiguous expansion, including a new addition of 210,000 square feet of exhibit space, 100,000 square feet of meeting space, and a new 55,000 square feet ballroom connected to the current convention center. That's a hell of an addition. Option B is a campus option, adding a 225,000 square foot exhibit hall on one level. In other words, they would expand the building by adding either a new building or renovating some buildings in the area to make them non-contiguous non-contiguous conventions to the connection.
Yeah, I don't like
non-contiguous buildings added to the convention center property. There we go. Okay. English tough. Okay. And option C is a campus design that stacks the exhibit halls on 2 levels, each with an additional 80,000 square feet of meeting space and an 80,000 square foot ballroom. Option C would fit the current Tailgate Park location, which was largely rejected by clients as unworkable. Of the 3, it may be the smallest expansion, but I like option A. You know, make it a contiguous building. Just add to the building itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the campus options may add more flexibility because now you can offer smaller buildings to smaller companies instead of just, you know, smaller sections of this concrete canyon they've built out there. But there is something to be said that when your marquee event is 130,000 people, you know, we've seen what, Steve and I especially have seen what happens at the Anime Expo when you have your exhibit halls and entertainment hall, 2 things that could fit side by side in 2 different buildings that are separated by a half goddamn mile.
Yeah,
it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not one of those people that gets easily tired at a convention, but it is a bummer trying to walk through a sea of people, and it can take you when things are running well, it only takes a couple minutes to walk that distance to get into the next building. When it's busy, it can take upwards of like 10 to 15 minutes, and you're fighting with traffic the whole way. Yeah, I'd go with a single building option. But another convention I'm going to actually in a few weeks, Long Beach Comic-Con, they are the most varied comic book convention I've ever heard of. They're actually having a mini space expo going along inside the convention. They're going to be partnering up with the Columbia Memorial Space Center to host a space expo. It's going to be a series of exhibits and panels on robots, spacesuits, and planetary exploration. God, you already know what planets are. It doesn't say a whole lot about what panelists are going to be there. Andre Bormanis he was a scientific coordinator and expert that was hired by the people running the Star Trek franchise to help with their storylines. They're also going to be talking to, it looks like, Fred Califf III and Mike Siebert. And this is also the one we talked about a couple days ago that has an entire list of panels also for families as well. God, they have a very nice grouping of stuff for everybody to do. I'm getting impressed. And last up in general comic news, there's a new Assassin's Creed comic coming. This one is going to be unlike any previous series because it's going to happen in modern times. They're introducing a new character named Charlotte de la Cruz. They're going to be she's going to have the technology used on her that allows her to pull her genetic memories from her ancestors who used to be assassins. And using the skills she learns from those memories, she's going to be fighting the Templars in the modern day.
Okay,
First
yeah.
issue-
Didn't we talk about this?
I think we talked about it vaguely as a possibility, but I don't think we actually got into the story of it because this particular story just came out on the 31st, which is right after our last recording. So the first issue of this, it comes out October 14th, 2015. It's being put... God, who is putting this out? Oh, it's being put out by Titan Comics in a partnership with Ubisoft.
Okay.
My wife is going to be all over that.
Yeah, she will.
When it comes to anime in Japan news, we talk about it here because 3 out of 4 of us are anime fans, and the fourth one won't kill us when we talk about it. Comixology has struck a deal with Kodansha. They're going to get manga distribution on the digital platform. They're going to have over 350 Kodansha titles currently available on Comixology's platform, with more coming in a few months. Some people may say, well, what's the big deal about that? One of the marquee books they got as part of that deal, Attack on Titan. The last time Kodansha sold its licenses for distribution outside of Japan, it was back in 2008 with Tokyo Pop and Dark Horse.
Wow.
In 2008 was when the company opened its own U.S.-based imprint to publish manga in America. So it looks like they're partnering up with some U.S. companies to add to their distribution. In Comixology, I'm not a member of, but man, they really are making inroads when it comes to digital distribution of print material.
Yeah.
Would you like to know how big their imprint is getting?
How?
That was the second story they released this week. The first story was that they signed a new deal with Shonen Frickin' Jump. Which means Comixology also has access to One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, Blue Exorcist, My Hero Academia, and Food Wars Shokugeki no Soma.
That'll be pretty sweet if they start bringing those over.
They've already signed the deal.
Nice.
It's going to be, again, this is all going to come via the Comixology app. They've partnered with Viz Media and Comixology with Shonen Jump. So this is a very official deal. Comixology is going to make these books available to English speakers in North America, the UK, Ireland, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. Holy cow, man. Comixology just became a major deal.
Yeah.
Now, Steve, you've known me for a long time when it comes to my anime habits. And you know how big of a fan I am of Fooly Cooly.
Yes.
Production IG has just announced that they are working on a remake of the Fooly Cooly anime.
Really?
Yes. Fooly Cooly was owned by Gainax, which went under, God, what, like 12 years ago, I think.
Has it been that long?
It feels like it anyway. But Production IG didn't say that they're re-releasing the series. They said they're tackling the rights with plans for a new anime remake.
We'll have to give this one another shot.
You know what? If they're going to do a remake, I only have one demand, and that is the Japanese voice actress of Haruhara Haruko must be the same one. Everything else changed, I can deal with that, but that girl has to be the same damn one. The synopsis, for those who don't know, quote, Naota is a detached sixth grader affected by the pangs of puberty. He's fooling around with his brother's ex-girlfriend when a crazed girl on a motor scooter runs him over, brains him with a bass guitar, and moves into his house. She says she's an alien and hurls Naota into the middle of a megacorporation's secret agenda. And now, giant battling robots shoot from his skull when he has naughty thoughts, unquote.
Okay.
Yeah, it was unique.
And oddly enough, V, that synopsis is probably the cleanest explanation I've ever heard of this series. And it barely makes sense.
Yeah.
Last up, Kotaku put together a photo compilation of Japan's coolest looking capsule hotels. Now, before the few people who watch anime listen to this and freak out, no, I'm not talking about Capsule Corporation. Slow your roll. Are you familiar with the concept of capsule hotels?
Yes.
I don't think I am.
Okay, capsule hotels, they offer you a place to stay, but all they basically offer you is a very low rate because all you're using from them is a bunk. They offer you enough place to stow a bag, and then you have a bunk you sleep in, and that's all the room you get. They're cheap, but they're decent space savers. It can look a little creepy, though, because at times it looks like a morgue with no doors on the freezers, or it looks kind of like the pods from the ship on The Fifth Element sometimes. Here, I'll send you the link so you can take a look at all the pictures at once, because it is a trip to look at these places. You almost wonder if people are allowed to sleep in these.
I kind of like this idea, actually.
I actually hadn't considered how technology, when it comes to monitors, had come to such a point where you could actually put tablets and small monitors for people to look at now.
I kind of like this.
Yeah, it looks like one has a... It looks like a Hotel Sleeps in Tokyo actually has a manga library. The 9 hours in Narita Airport? That's a little creepy. It looks like a place where they expect to implant memories in your head, you know?
Very white.
Yeah. The Rumor Plaza is actually very spacious for a capsule hotel. Actually, it looks like it has places to socialize if you actually wanted to talk to anybody.
You know what it reminds me of? Is
what?
Some of the living habitations from Deus Ex.
I haven't seen that myself, but I swear all you need to do is like start welding or screwing some doors onto the side of these, and it looks like a series of microwave ovens. First cabin. That's a bunch of airline storage stuff that's been repurposed. I swear to God, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. In Fukuoka, I've been there.
Fukuoka is one of those things that always sounds dirty, no matter how you try to say it, at least in English. Do you guys want to take... It's a city. Fukuoka.
Oh,
it's
okay.
also the prefecture.
Yeah.
One of the prefectures.
Okay, next to the plate is Nerd Interest News. We talk about technological and sociological innovations because we are nerds, and sometimes things we talk about don't have anything to do with comic books, TVs, movies, and other shit that has to do with monitors. There is an interesting picture that's shown up of the Andromeda Galaxy. Somebody took a 12.5-inch telescope and took 20 frames to form a mosaic of our nearest neighboring galaxy.
Oh, that's cool.
This must have taken patience to be able to lay all this out. But it's supposed to be not just our nearest galaxy, it's also supposed to be our sister spiral. This would be what the Milky Way would look like if you would take a picture from the outside looking in. It's very pretty for a live picture. It looks like something straight off a Star Trek graphic. Every time I look at something like this, I keep getting an idea of the vastness of space.
Yeah. I want space.
Is that another galaxy beneath it in the far distance, or is that like a comet or something?
It looks like another galaxy in the distance. To me, anyway.
Yeah, you only want space because humans frustrate you.
Well, humans are frustrating.
Amazon Prime or Amazon Video has talked about a new feature they're going to have in their video playback service. They're going to start a new ability so that you can play videos from Amazon Prime offline.
Oh, good.
What that means is you'll have the ability to download episodes for future viewing, so you will not need an active internet connection to view their videos. That might actually give them a leg up on things like Netflix and Hulu. Those things require internet connections all the time, but in this case, you could load up a lot of stuff before doing something mundane, like getting on a flight and going to Comic-Con.
Yeah. And I'll probably press Netflix and Hulu to evolve their models.
At least consider it. I was just reading a story earlier this week. Netflix is losing their Epix license I think, at the end of this month.
What is Epix?
Epix is they're a movie channel. They're the ones responsible for Netflix having things like RoboCop, the Transformers movies, and a few other items. Some people have been complaining that Netflix doesn't seem to have a whole lot of current movies anymore, which is true. A lot of the distributors have gone to direct distribution online themselves. But I wouldn't call Netflix dead, because it turns out as soon as 2016 begins, January 1st, 2016, their new contract kicks in. About 4 months ago, they signed a new licensing deal with Disney Entertainment.
Smart.
Oh, so...
Which means they'll get first pick on most new Disney, Pixar, and Marvel films as soon as they're ready for distribution.
Nice.
And it turns out, do you know where those Epix movies and licenses are going?
Where?
Hulu. It's like... I was getting worried. Oh my god, I'm losing this stuff from Netflix. Then I start looking through other stories. Oh my god, I'm getting this stuff on my Hulu.
Lose one, gain another.
Pretty much. IO9 earlier this week decided to ask their users, what are your most heinous stories of role-playing games gone wrong? So there is a host of stories they've put up. I can read a couple of these to you because some of these stories sound interesting and just a little sad.
Okay.
According to one young lady, she was having trouble with both the game and romance at the same time. Quote, this was almost a story I was going to tell, except the guy who was hitting on me was the GM, and my character was a gangrel and not flirty at all. It became a ludicrous game where anything my character tried to do was met with success and zero danger, including surviving a nuclear blast for some reason. And my boyfriend's characters were killed off within literal seconds of him making a new one. I can remember one actual conversation being something like this. My boyfriend, okay, so my brand new character is driving along the coast towards the city. And the GM says, make a drive check. My boyfriend says, for a straight road? Okay, shit, botch. The GM says, your car plummets off the cliff into the ocean and you die. And something like that happened every single time. Meanwhile, I was voted the Prince of the City by an NPC band of Nosferatu, unquote.
Wow. No obvious bias there.
No. Let's see. Another user named Johnny Deadman responded to someone else's story with a story of his own about a GM. Quote, World of Darkness tended to be like that. I had a GM who liked to smoke major amounts of marijuana during our sessions, and he would conjure up these really engaging worlds to play in. Though due to his weird sense of the game, he would often throw insurmountable challenges against us, and it was entirely up to our own common sense to realize that we were not supposed to actually take them on. Case in point, the Bruja Vampire hit squad armed with machine guns hidden in a van we took to following, then crashing into, then almost dying from. It was also a pain to level up our Arret scores. This stat governs your ability to use magical power for the layman reading this. Because he was high most of the time, he wanted us to follow a very specific train of thought when we undertook spirit journeys to improve our characters. We had to roleplay the stat improvements. Needless to say, we were stuck at the same level for a long time, because every time we tried to level, we kept missing out on what we needed to expand our mage minds. Fun campaign, but frustrating a solid 50% of the time. I never played with a GM who smokes the wacky backy during a game, unquote.
I don't understand why that would make such a difference. Most people, at least most people I know, are just sleepier.
Sounds like he used it to create incredible scenarios, but he wouldn't tell them, okay, this is some shit that would get you killed. He just left it up to them to trip into whatever.
Yeah, well, and the arete is also a kind of important factor, and yeah, the spirit visions and everything. I guess he was pretty strict. But
I
I actually know one guy that played WoW high, yeah, and he was a better tank for it. So I don't know. Everybody functions differently on this stuff.
Yeah, weird. To me.
Okay,
Weird.
I will read two more of these. One of these I have to read because it is about as stereotypical as a story as you can get, from the user Zevioso. Quote, when I was 12, I had been playing D&D for a few months. I really got into world building and wanted to be a DM. I started creating my own world, complete with multiple maps, cultures, cities, each with their own map layouts, with locations of dungeons and multiple maps of dungeons. I had created my own races, each with their own backstory. My mother was a fundamentalist Christian. When she found out I was playing D&D, she got very mad, but I ignored her and still would visit my friends and play, and I continued working on my world, writing probably a few novels worth of backstories. Then one day I got back after spending a weekend with my friends. I found out my mother, after attending a fundamentalist revival camp earlier, was told by her pastor to take all of my material and throw it out as it was the work of the devil. Pretty much all of my writings, drawings, etc. were in the dump, and that was that. I was crushed. I never forgave my mother for that, unquote.
I sure wouldn't. I wonder if
I can sympathize. It took a long time to be able to get my mom to reconcile my D&D ways.
Yeah.
I've never had to experience that, fortunately. I can't hardly imagine that.
I will only read one more, but this is a super long one. The username Trashboat wrote this out, and dear God. Quote, most RPG players have had that magical group. You know the one, you stay up until 6 a.m. You play for 15 hours straight. It's awesome. Notes are flying. Secrets are being revealed. Crits are being rolled, or fumbles. Then, like many good things, it comes to an end. Your pals scatter to the four winds. Some stop playing. One might even become born again and throw all of his D&D books away. You mourn it because life will never be the same, and you are alone. And sad. Then it kicks in about 6 months later. I need to find a group. I miss D&D. I miss role-playing. Nowadays, you can jump on Reddit or other community boards and find locals, but back in the late 80s and early 90s, you filled out an index card with player looking for group at the top, jot down a brief description of yourself and your wants as a player, put a phone number at the bottom, and hope for the best. For me, it was like online dating on crack. You have no idea what you're walking into, and most of what you do find has bad BO and may or may not be sex offenders, especially if you're a female gamer. Try number 1, Orcmaster. Orcmaster can only meet you at one of the library community rooms because he lives at home and his mom is a bitch who fucks strangers. So he hopes you're okay with playing at the library with him. He's the GM. I'm there with 2 other guys who he had found on other message boards across the city. None of us know each other. Orcmaster tells us all we can be evil. He gives one guy a +10 battle axe of paladin slaying. To another player, he gives a giant puma named Dio that he can ride. To me, he gives a magical chastity belt with teeth that rips off guys' dicks, then goes, haha, just kidding, here's a ring of protection, +4.
What level are they?
I don't know. When I described my character, the GM kept asking if she was Asian. I like Asians, he said. Then he would snicker really loudly. Finally, he came out and said that Asians have small pussies, and wasn't that so funny? No, it was not funny. Our first combat was decimating a village and killing every man, woman, and child we saw. Every time we offed an innocent, he would cackle. During a pee break, I told them I was going to the bathroom and never went back. Fuck that shit. There were several other awful attempts, including a guy who thought keeping his PCs at 1 to 2 hit points was fucking awesome, and every time we tried to camp or heal or do anything protective, he'd have a random encounter and laugh maniacally every time we went unconscious. Or the fairy skank princess who swore she was a model for Larry Elmore because he told her she was magically beautiful. She had a character that was a Tinkerbell fairy that could pull anything she wanted from a magical dimensional bag. Her boyfriend was the GM and had essentially made her invulnerable. He ran us through the Temple of Elemental Evil, and she fought every monster with some awesome relic item or detected all the traps or knew every lore about every being inside. Then at the end he said, well, she gets 90% of the experience because you all didn't do anything.
Jesus.
This person goes on. The most fucked up story I have is when I joined a D&D storytelling group. The GM didn't roll dice, he just told stories and asked us how we would react. He said, I feel the stories and what your characters want and need, and I've never been wrong. Wow. Well, I played a thief. He told me what she looked like. Dark hair, almond eyes, petite and very beautiful. Again with the Asian fetish. And he had one of his NPCs totally hit on her. This NPC was some kind of tree-hopping Tarzan barbarian type named Raven who talked in a guttural language and can barely put words together. He would send me notes like, Raven want you come with him. He show something. Come alone. I went and Raven did some kind of crazy martial arts dance for me. And this GM is actually trying to do the moves while he's explaining it. Then he says, mating dance, you my mate now, and thumped his chest. He grabbed my character and carried her up a tree and gave her a fucking flower and asked if we could mate for life. Oh my god, what? I was like, yeah, time out, I didn't know about this. And the GM said, hey, I can read people. This is what your character wants. Go with it. And I didn't go with it. His friends were all looking at me like I was the odd one because I wasn't letting Tarzan tree rape me for a flower for life. The game ended early. Before I left, the GM asked me to come to his room in his apartment. Come on, I want to show you something. I told him I needed to go. He begged me. He said he trusted me and needed me to share something with me. So I relented and walked to his room and stand in the doorway because no way am I going all the way in with a guy who thinks I want to roleplay tree sex with a stupid half-naked barbarian. He pulls this box out from under his bed and opens it up. Inside are framed pictures of his family, mom, dad, and 3 sisters, and they are all naked. Butt naked. Sometimes posed, sometimes not. He's in there too, naked as can be. Awkward. And he tells me my parents are brother and sister and believe in nudity. What? They raised me to be proud of my body and not to be ashamed. Their parents did it too. It's okay. I feel like I can be myself around you. He started to undress, and I was out. Gone. Done. I have not yet had another experience quite like that one. So yeah, wherever you are, Raven Barbarian Nudist Child Porn Guy, what the fuck? Unquote.
Holy shit.
Oh my god, that guy's radar is way off.
I was kind of dreading reading that one. Now I'm glad I read it, but at the same time, the blue fucking hell, man.
If you have that kind of situation, you don't fucking tell people about it.
No, you whip out a taser and just laser his ass. Dude. Ugh. I'm like 40 years old. Now I'm creeped out. Ugh. Well, in happier D&D news, the granddaddy of role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons, they are deciding to take a page out of Marvel book. They're releasing a new book of Out of the Abyss for a fifth edition, and it's supposed to be a continuation of the adventures in the Underdark. They're actually starting to build consecutive possible stories for D&D.
Nice.
Whoa, okay, English sucks all of a sudden. Out of the Abyss will be set in the Underdark. It's going to be the native habitat of races like the Drow and the Duergar. It's also home to the franchise's most nefarious monsters like giant spiders, maniacal beholders, and mind flayers.
Gotta hate the mind flayers.
Everybody hates the mind flayers. Polygon.com, they sat down with Chris Perkins, who's the principal designer for D&D at Wizards of the Coast. He said, quote, "We've gone from being product-focused to being story-focused, which means we think of a story that we want to tell, that captures the essence of D&D, and also that we think is going to energize our players and DMs. Then we develop a story Bible for that story and propagate it through a number of different expressions." Unquote. Okay, that's an interesting way to tell a story. At least role-playing games they're so busy on these episodic stories that they don't really seem to tell like arcing stories. It sounds like they're moving towards the arcing story. When it comes to 5th edition, first it was Tyranny of Dragons, then the Elemental Evil storyline, and now is Rage of Demons, for which Out of the Abyss will be the first tabletop campaign. That's interesting. The Rage of the Demons storyline. Demon lords have been summoned from the abyss, and players must descend into the Underdark to stop the chaos before it threatens the surface. Okay, that sounds like an adventure into the dark dimension. Hello, Mephisto.
Yeah, I've never been one for playing the pre-built campaigns and whatnot, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Well, how about this?
If it's a good enough story, I certainly would try it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, how about this for the inspiration? According to Chris Perkins, quote, "The idea with Rage of Demons was to paint the Underdark as D&D on hard mode. As I mulled that concept over, I went back and I read the R.A. Salvatore novel Exile. Exile is a story of Driz Duerden escaping the Underdark and going to the surface for the first time. It's the chronicle of his journey. Along the way, he meets all these absolutely crazy characters. As I was rereading Exile, it struck me that this is an almost Lewis Carroll-esque take. So I called Salvatore and I asked, do you intend for this to be an homage to Alice in Wonderland? He said no, but as we were talking and he reflected on it, he admitted that it really kind of sort of is. We've depicted the Underdark many times before, but I don't think we've ever depicted it as Alice in Wonderland in this sort of way, where the Underdark becomes the Wonderland of D&D, this crazy weird place that you have to fall down a hole to enter, and it's full of crazy deranged characters. The more you hang around them, the more you begin to understand them, and the more you realize you're going crazy yourself. That became our hook for this Underdark story, unquote.
Interesting. I especially like the fact that he went back to Salvatore. But
Yeah.
Further on in nerd interest news, Jezebel.com, okay. They decided to talk about a subject I never thought I would learn about because as much as the device is useful in certain situations, I never really thought about its history. September 22nd is International Rabbit Day.
Why does it need an international day?
I don't know. I have a feeling it's used on more days than just September 22nd. But they link back to a story on Cosmopolitan.com that has a brief history of the rabbit vibrator.
Okay.
It apparently debuted in 1984.
I didn't know it was around that long.
I had a feeling it was around that long just based on the strange music that's usually played every time someone mentions one. You know, usually sounds like the beginning to Debbie Does Dallas. Quote, the designers at Vibratex had been working on a new vibrator that featured revolutionary rotating pearls in the shaft for added stimulation. They settled on a rabbit as the animal for the toy since the rabbit is a lucky charm in Japan and in honor of Martin, who was born in the year of the rabbit on the Chinese calendar. Sales of the toy were strong when it debuted, but the Rabbit Pearl, the very first rabbit vibrator, didn't have widespread notoriety yet. Famed sex shop Babeland opened its doors in Seattle this year and began selling the Rabbit Pearl from the very beginning, says co-founder Claire Kavanaugh. In 1997, the store opened its New York City location and began offering the next model for the toy, the Rabbit Habit, which had its battery pack and controls inside the base of the toy rather than as a separate attachment. This was kind of a big deal when you think about how annoying it would be to have a cord flapping around and potentially getting tangled while you're trying to get yourself off, unquote. Not the mind frame I expected to be in. Wow. Let me see. Yahoo Health has a story where binge watching TV might actually kill you in a very specific way.
I don't believe that. Oh, let's hear it.
According to a study presented to the European Society of Cardiology, it shows that men and women between the ages of 40 and 79 who watch more than 5 hours of TV a day are twice as likely to suffer a potential fatal pulmonary embolism from blood clots.
I bet you that's only if they're not actively using their brain as they watch the shows.
It depends on the blood clots. The blood clots form in the leg veins.
Then that should be just from sitting. Why would it be from sitting specifically watching TV? I don't get that.
Watching TV, you're more likely to kind of shut down larger sections of your brain and sit still while you're watching a program. That's what they're detailing from the dangers of binge watching. From that, I can kind of understand. At least with TV, you get commercial breaks, so you have an incentive to get up and grab a snack or take a whiz or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So that's largely what they're doing. The researchers found a similar connection likely when people are playing computer games or video games for long periods of time. In the press release, the researchers said binge watchers should follow the same guidelines given to those on long airplane flights. Stand up, walk around, drink plenty of water.
But who wants to stand up and walk around on an airplane?
Me. I'm afraid
Really?
I'm afraid of falling, so flying is one of my least comfortable scenarios. I've almost ripped the arm off a chair during takeoff.
I like airplanes. It's airports I have the issue with.
Last up in nerd interest news, IO9 and Gordon M. Jackson put together a list of the most ill-advised continuations of classic sci-fi and fantasy TV shows.
Okay.
This should be good.
Are you kidding? The first one is one I've seen. Galactica 1980.
Oh, yeah.
V, have you seen the continuation of the original Battlestar Galactica?
I don't think so. Is it recent?
1980, and the cheese was on. Quote, after Battlestar Galactica was canceled, fans were outraged and wrote to ABC in droves. Soon, this led to a sequel TV series, which takes place 30 years after the first series. The Galactica arrives at Earth only to find that Disco had just died. Also,
Disco?
the planet... It's 1980.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
Also, the planet is defenseless against the Cylons. Among other problems, the series lacks Apollo and Starbuck, gives the now bearded Adama a teenage super genius advisor named Dr. Z as an advisor, and lacks any of the zest of the original series. There are, however, flying motorcycles, and one episode where Wolfman Jack guest stars, and someone accidentally knocks out a Cylon using a microwave oven, unquote. Yeah, I've watched the first few episodes of that series. It was a bad show. It's not like the original Galactica is, Shakespeare or anything, but this was really bad. Second up, Gilligan's Planet.
Wait, what?
I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
Quote, after the professor built a functioning interplanetary spaceship, the 7 castaways of Gilligan's Island find themselves rescued from the island, but instead are marooned on an uncharted purple world of giant fungal growths and bioluminescent flora. Reuniting 6/7 the original cast, but with Don Wells taking over as Ginger in addition to Marianne, this animated series added an 8th cast member in Bumper, a green reptilian creature with eyes like John Arbuckle's from the Garfield cartoons. With its newfound science fiction element, Gilligan's Planet didn't attempt to break the formula of its antecedent series, but to embrace it even further. Episodes would involve Gilligan discovering a wish-granting robot, Gilligan growing to astronomical size, and Gilligan accidentally cloning himself, unquote. I think that's one of my purest visions of hell. This one I hadn't even heard about. Get Smart 1995.
I knew there was a movie, but I didn't know there was a TV show.
Yeah.
This would be technically the second TV show. The first one's from the 1960s.
Right, which I found highly amusing.
Yeah. Quote, after the 1960s spy comedy went off the air, there were a few attempts to revive it. Don Adams and Barbara Feldon starred in 2 TV movies, 1980's The Nude Bomb and 1989's Get Smart Again. The latter led to a 1995 TV series in which Adams and Feldon reappeared and Andy Dick played the son of Maxwell Smart. Dick's character, Zachary Smart, carries on Agent 86's battle against the forces of chaos, while Maxwell himself is appointed Chief of Control. Zachary, in his own analog to 99, 66, played by Elaine Hendricks, failed to find an audience, but did give us human organ harvesting storyline in his 2-part series finale. The episodes were titled Worst Enemies and Liver Let Die. As Splitsider explains, Get Smart fails to recognize its audience, mismatching the classic Get Smart style with modern comedy. Max and 99 performed for the multi-camera playground of the 1960s, but don't realize how close this new camera is to their faces. Feldon in particular emotes as if we won't be able to see her. The show's laugh track similarly appears out of place. An audience guffaws, but this show was not filmed before a live studio audience. The mix of broad wordplay and sight gags that headbang at the original series, coupled with the loud gestures of Andy Dick, muddle the show's tone, failing to decide who it wants to impress. Series diehards or fresh consumers, unquote. That was new to me. Yeah, that was new to me. I've never heard that before, and now I know why. This next one I've heard whispers of, but I don't recall ever actually seeing it. Bionic Ever After? You could guess what that's about.
Yeah.
Ever After?
Yes. Quote,
that's a movie, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Quote, just like with Get Smart, there were a handful of TV movies reuniting Steve Austin and Jamie Summers after their respective TV shows went off the air. And just like with Get Smart, there was an attempt to have the aging stars introduce the next generation of heroes. The 1989 movie Bionic Showdown featured Lindsay Wagner and Lee Majors mentoring a young bionic person named Kate Mason, played by the young Sandra Bullock in one of her first roles. The Bullock TV movie isn't that bad, just sort of slow and nostalgic. But the final TV movie, Bionic Ever After, is a weird melodrama about the marriage between the bionic woman and the $6 million man. And, as it happens, Jamie gets cold feet when her bionic limbs stop working. What if I end up in a wheelchair? You won't. What if I do? Steve is expecting to marry somebody who beats his behind at racquetball, somebody who runs 60 miles an hour, who takes a little 20-mile swim with him once a week. We've been bionic together for a very long time. Jamie's malfunction stemmed from a computer virus engineered by a terrorist threatening to launch a missile at the American embassy. Steve heads to the Bahamas to put a stop to him, but the virus begins to affect him too. Though it all works out in the end, but to many, Bionic Ever After felt like an unsatisfactory maudlin finale for these adorable cyborgs, unquote.
Hmm.
That sounds
I almost
like
remember that one.
That does sound suck. I did see the one with Sandra Bullock, but I didn't remember her as the character in that.
Yeah, no.
Wait,
This
Ever
next
After didn't actually involve cyborgs, did it?
Yes, it did. Bionic Ever After. It involved the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman.
No. She's
the original
talking
actors
about
who played
the show
both.
Ever After.
Oh, no.
Okay, just checking.
The next show
I've never
I'm ashamed
seen
to say
it,
I
so-
watched. Yeah, the next show I'm ashamed to say I watched because it involved two of my favorite cartoon characters from the 90s. Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain.
Pinky, Elmira,
I
and
never
the Brain?
did that.
Yep. Quote, in a bizarre case of executive meddling, Warner Brothers felt the Emmy-winning Pinky and the Brain would be better served with the incorporation of Elmira Duff, a well-meaning, though pet-murdering little girl from Tiny Toon Adventures, and a suburban setting to give it a modern sitcom feel. So Acme Labs was closed in a depressing new intro sequence, and to anyone who was there to see it, the show became an instant mega downer. The misery Brain was now forced to endure, outside his element and suffering at the hands of a capricious child, really hit home, and felt truly inescapable, even to the kids watching at home. Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain is best likened to the dinner scene in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. To see it as a kid felt like being strapped to a table while your captors serving human sausage mock your tears, unquote. And I've also seen the next continuation, also animated, The Goliath Chronicles.
Oh, God.
Quote,
Yes.
call it quote,
I saw that too. It's,
quote, call it a reverse Xanatos gambit, since there's no way to win this one. For the third season of The Gargoyles, the series was retitled and the entire production staff replaced for a more streamlined and network-monitored approach, naturally leading to its cancellation. In the words of Gargoyles creator Greg Weisman, quote, part of the problem was that the staff of Chronicles took springboards I came up with and then went way south with them, unquote. For example, the episode Justice for All was planned to have Goliath put on trial for his sentience. In the version that aired, he was put on trial for robbing a jewelry store. And that's probably one of the better episodes too, unquote.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah. I didn't know the Avengers had a sequel series. The New Avengers. Quote,
we're talking about the spy one, kind of like Get Smart and stuff, right?
The English spy show, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Quote, the late 70s revival of the Avengers put John Steed together with Joanna Lumley, and for the first time, a third partner played by Gareth Hunt. As the series set out to create somewhat darker and more straightforward espionage tales, it failed to connect with the audience and is something of a black sheep of the franchise, even when star Patrick McNee more or less disowned. Despite this, or in consequence of the tonal shift, the New Avengers' most memorable episode, Naws, involved mutant sewer rats with a recycled script that borrowed liberally from the Thunderbird special Attack of the Mutant Alligators, unquote. Holy shit, that sounds horrible.
It does indeed sound awful.
You want to talk awful? Next up is Knight Rider.
Oh.
Quote,
Wait,
there were a number...
wasn't that recent?
Not really. Quote.
No, that was the pretty much the first thing you saw David Hasselhoff in.
Yeah. Quote, there were a number of puzzling attempts to bring Knight Rider back over the years. Between the original series and its most recent incarnation, there were 2 follow-up TV movies, one of which featured Mitch Pileggi as a serial killer. There was also Knight Rider 2010, a loosely based Mad Max-style post-apocalypse story, and Team Knight Rider, featuring 5 talking cars that could come together like Voltron to form a high-speed pursuit vehicle.
You know, but honestly, I liked Team Knight Rider.
I admit, I liked that too, and I knew it was bad.
Yeah.
But the 2008 series was the most explicitly tied to the original 1980s classic, with David Hasselhoff showing up to pass the torch to his son, played by Justin Brewing, who drove an upgraded version of KITT. In spite of featuring the Hoff, we still called the 2008 revival the worst hour on television, unquote.
Yeah, it was not impressive.
I'll be honest, in the 2008 show, I saw something that could have been great, but they were so busy with character archetypes and trying to lay foundations, they never really went anywhere. But the next series on this list, I'm glad to say I never watched. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation.
Jesse did.
Quote,
I haven't seen it.
Quote, touted as a continuation of the original animated series with new villains, new ideas, and a new turtle in Venus de Milo, Saban's live-action take on the TMNT was a legitimately nauseating affair with unappealing costumes, voiceovers, and sound effects. According to series director Kevin Monroe, the Turtles creator Peter Laird hates this series with a passion. So say we all, unquote. Next up is Erie, Indiana, The Other Dimension. I've never watched the original or this series. Quote, when Erie, Indiana finally began to develop a fan base in reruns on Fox several years after its cancellation, a follow-up series was planned. With no input from the original producer Joe Dante or any of the original series staff, it was decided to produce a batch of brand new, similar but different episodes set in an adjacent dimension. Erie protagonist Marshall Teller became Mitchell Taylor, and sidekick Simon Holmes was now Stanley Hope. Lacking much of the style and inventiveness of the original, The Other Dimension felt like a bootleg, off-brand version of a show that couldn't catch a break in the first place, unquote. Oh my god, they made another Electra Woman and Dyna Girl?
What?
Oh, wow.
I knew about the online one coming soon, but I've never heard of this. Quote, in 2001, a continuation of the 70s Sid and Marty Krofft series about two kitschy superheroes battling characters like the Sorcerer, the Empress of Evil, and Glitter Rock, a glam rock-themed supervillain, was put in motion. A pilot was ordered, though it did not eventually go to series, the aborted revival from the WB featured the original Electra Woman, this time played by Marky Post, as a down-on-her-luck alcoholic who meets a young admirer who encourages her to take the mantle once more, with her as the new Dyna Girl. You can watch the whole thing above. The pilot features some of the most bizarre placeholder music and cameos, including the all-new Mickey Mouse Clubhouse band, The Party, covering the Rubinoos' I Wanna Be Your Boyfriend after Electra Woman and Dyna Girl foil a robbery, and Chad from Together as a hormonal teenager, unquote.
Wow, that sounds like a train wreck.
Yeah. The next series I watched for about a season before I was done with. Kung Fu, The Legend Continues.
Dude, I liked that show.
I had trouble with it.
I have no issues saying I actually enjoyed that show. It is the whole reason my sister and I call my dad Pops.
Quote, in this sequel, David Carradine returned as Kwai Chang Caine, the grandson of the martial artist he portrayed in the original series, and bearing the same dragon tattoo on his forearm signifying his station as a Shaolin priest. Unlike his predecessor, this series was at its heart an action procedural, and a lot of contention resulted over Carradine's age. While he can still deliver with his deadly fist, Kane's kicks appear to be delivered by a prosthesis, sometimes what appears to be a broomstick with a shoe attached. As People magazine explains, like his ancestor, Kung Fu the Younger has a dragon tattoo on his forearm, signifying his training as a Shaolin priest. That means he's given to spouting pseudo-Confucian aphorisms like, when you understand your motives and the motives of your enemies, you cannot help but win. The profundity is apparently infectious. Even villains scream at their henchmen such dialogue as, the source of all life is a profound mystery. In its favor, though, The Legend Continues did feature website favorite David Hewlett as its irascible pathologist, and ended after an impressive 88 episodes. To quote the series while maybe even defending it, how long will it take for me to learn these things, Father? A lifetime, my son. Perhaps a little longer, unquote.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to deny it was cheesy as hell, but I liked it.
It got boring for me. The procedural nature of it just kind of left it in the same place at the beginning and end of every episode. So it didn't
I like
keep me.
procedurals. That's not an issue for me.
Oh, the last one on this list, I've not seen either one, but both sound equally horrible and belong in the same paragraphs. The Munsters Today and the New Addams Family.
Oh, God. Yeah, no.
Quote, these 60s favorites employed completely different reinvention strategies. In one, a cave-in at the mansion leaves the Munsters in stasis for 30 years, and the family reemerges in 1989. Meanwhile, the New Addams Family proceeded as if nothing happened between the original series and its two live-action films, but to audiences, there was some explaining to do. Nothing from either series gelled, beginning with a spoken-word rendition of Jack Tromby's Great Munster Surf theme to an all-new Calypso theme for the New Addams Family. Ugh. And after Fred Gwynne, among others, declined to reprise his role, Al Lewis wasn't even asked, a new set of performers was needed, and both series suffered from their off-putting casts. While Lee Merriweather acquits herself nicely as Lily, John Shook's Herman Munster is a truly skin-crawling invention to behold. His bizarre makeup application makes him look more like a half-eaten avocado, or Tim Curry's
What?
Pennywise the Clown. than Fred Gwynn. As if the 30 years in hibernation couldn't completely cease the process of decay, Grandpa Munster, played by Howard Morton, though, came out looking sleeker somehow. As for the Addams, Glenn Toronto's Gomez is tantamount to enduring your criminal uncle's Robert De Niro impersonation. Though Ellie Harvey's only offense is that she just isn't Carolyn Jones. Luckily, she returned for an episode of The Haunting Hour in 2012 as a parent-eating witch at a high school recital, and seemed to have perfected her take on the character there. More menace was needed for Morticia, and there, at least, she delivered, unquote. The image of this new Munster thing and what they're talking about with how horrible the new, Herman Munster looked.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. He doesn't look human. He doesn't look monstrous. I imagine he looks like what's her name? Kris Kardashian is going to evolve into once her Botox wears off. Look at this. It's horrendous.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Gross.
That is awful. Little Eddie Munster there looks like one of the things Michael Jackson got his hands on before he died. Ugh. I'm unsettled by how ugly that is. Last tip is our What the Fuck corner. We talk about those news stories that just make us ask. The blue fuck, like somebody inviting you to his room and then suddenly showing you pictures of his naked family and stripping in front of you. Things like that. First up, offbeat.topics.com has a slideshow of the 22 most highly instructive internet burns. Oh my God. 22 of the most highly instructive internet burns, and some of these are amazing. One of these came from Anderson Cooper's own Twitter account. Quote, 4 rockets just fired from the near media center in Gaza City, the same media center building hit by 3 IDF missiles earlier today. And a responder named Pamela Weiss said, report a fair story, report facts. Why not talk about the rockets being fired from Gaza? And he responded, perhaps you should spend less time tweeting about coconut flan and more time actually following the news, unquote. And one person actually responded, damn, man, you just dug into her tweet history for that burn. Respect. Oh, I love this. Conan O'Brien was on Twitter and he said, I picked out my Halloween costume. I'm going as slutty Madeleine Albright. In response, Madeleine Albright said, I'm considering going as hunky Conan O'Brien, but that might be too far-fetched.
Oh.
Nice.
The actor Zach Braff, somebody decided to talk to his Twitter and said, your profile pic makes you look very old. Hashtag not flattering. He responded with, Miss Olivia Joy, yours makes you look like a drunk sorority girl who thinks she knows her best angle but doesn't.
Wow.
Okay.
This one was a burn from the X Factor TV show, that variety and talent show.
Mm-hmm.
There's one guy on stage who says, I worked way too friggin' hard for this. And one of the judges says, a lot of people work really, really hard for their dreams, but it's not meant for everybody. And the guy responds to her, that's why you use auto-tune and I don't.
Ouch.
Dude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The next one is all visual. I'm going to skip that. Oh, how about this? This is fucking brilliant. A guy's cell phone gets a text that says, how was your flight? And the girlfriend picks up the phone and responds, this is his girlfriend. Who are you exactly? And why are you texting him? She waits and the response comes back. Okay, first of all, cops, stop calling yourself his girlfriend to make yourself feel better than the other girls. We all know you ain't official, so don't flatter yourself. Second, I'm the girl that can make any girl go from girlfriend to ex real quick. Now, how was my brother's flight, bitch?
Oh!
Nice.
Wow.
The next burn was actually, it was done to Chelsea Handler. I don't know who she's talking to, but she was on the show she used to have and says, I love globes, actually, because you can never remember where all the countries are. Like, I didn't know Nicaragua was next to Costa Rica. Have you guys ever heard of Nicaragua? And the two guys look at her, and one says, yeah, because we were schooled in England. You'll like this. The next burn. Chris Brown put on his Twitter, quote, "No more planking for me unless it's on a sexy lady, laugh out loud," unquote. Then somebody named Andy Levy decided to respond, quote, "You spelled punching wrong."
Oh, damn.
And the next burn is actually between two companies. Old Spice put on his Twitter, quote, "Why is it that fire sauce isn't made with any real fire? Seems like false advertising," unquote. Then of all things, Taco Bell decided to respond with, quote, "Hey, Old Spice, is your deodorant really made with old spices?" unquote. The next one is a biblical burn. It's a Facebook post, and they covered up the names to protect the innocent. A girl decided to put on her Facebook, quote, "If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them." Leviticus 20:13. The scripture is clear. How can any good Christian support gay marriage? The response, quote, "A marriage shall be considered valid only if the wife is a virgin. If the wife is not a virgin, she shall be executed." Deuteronomy 22:13-21. If memory of high school is correct, you might want to reconsider your position on the relevance of the Bible to your marriage laws.
Oh.
I was going to say, here's a political burn. Somebody named Daniel Moore decided to say, quote, "Hey, Nahid Nenshi, what's the point of the ridiculously expensive bridge again? What does it signify?" unquote. And the politician Nahid Nenshi said, quote, "I think it's to be used to cross the river," unquote. I love this. Somebody on Twitter named JJ. It's this woman with obviously fake blonde hair and a bad spray tan. She decided to tweet the Grinch, quote, "Why are you green?" unquote. To which the Grinch responded with, quote, "Why are you orange?" unquote.
That's great.
Somebody named Liam Lafayette decided to tweet to Frankie Muniz, quote, "Your acting is just awful. Sorry, it is," unquote. Frankie Muniz himself decided to pick up that challenge and said, quote, "Yeah, but being retired with $40 million in 19 has not been awful. Good luck moving out of your mom's house before you're 35, unquote.
Oh.
Somebody on Joe should have thought about this before he posted on Facebook. Quote, "Tonight, focus on something small. Take time to observe an ant or a pebble. Hold something tiny in your hand. Study it. Then marvel at the vastness of the universe and note your place in it." Then a buddy of his decided to respond with, quote, "So you'll be masturbating tonight, huh?" unquote.
I knew it. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, God.
Do you guys remember Tom Anderson?
No.
He's the guy who invented MySpace back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was on Twitter, and he said, quote, "People keep asking, so I'll say it. Fear over Instagram's terms of change is ridiculous. Get real, folks," unquote. Then somebody that called himself Polotopia said, quote, "Says the guy who was not able to keep a social network alive," unquote.
Oh.
Tom Anderson decided to respond, quote, "Says the guy who sold MySpace in 2005 for $580 million while you slave away hoping for half a day off," unquote.
Burn.
Yeah, and Facebook can teach you not to share. There was a young woman named Blair who said, quote, "It's not supposed to feel this way." Then her buddy Ricky said, quote, "Then it's probably in the wrong hole," unquote.
No, that's a common one.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a Stephen Hawking burn?
No.
Well, John Oliver interviewed Stephen Hawking at one point for The Daily Show. He said, quote, "You stated that you believe there could be an infinite number of parallel universes. Does that mean there's a universe out there where I'm smarter than you?"
Oh,
to which
dear.
Stephen Hawking looked him in the face, hit a couple buttons, and said, "And also a universe where you're funny," unquote.
Did he laugh at that, John Oliver? I mean,
I don't know. It didn't show what happened after that. The next one is kind of long because somebody named Monique was hoping that Mrs. Johansson was going to be at her class reunion. And Larry was apparently upset at that. He said, quote, "What the fuck? That lady was your favorite teacher? She was a bitch because of her, I had to take summer school." And when I say quote, it's because of obviously he's not using all the consonants he should in these sentences.
Mm.
And Mrs. Johansson, I guess, was keeping track. She said, quote, "Sadly, I will not be able to attend, but thank you all for inviting me to the group." Larry, I'm sorry you feel that way. Obviously my grammar lessons didn't stick too well. Larry responded with, whatever. I couldn't say it in high school, so I'll say it now. You are a bick. B-I-T-H-C.
B-I-T-H-C.
Yeah. And Mrs. Johansson was still around. Quote, Larry, you can barely say it now. Also, you could have said that in high school because bick isn't a real word. I'm going to use my context clues and assume you're attempting to call me a bitch. In that case, I will point out that your Facebook information lets me know that you are currently single and unemployed. Who's the bitch now? Unquote. And the person who started this thread, Monique, who was talking about the teacher, said, quote, double burn! This is why you're my favorite teacher, unquote. And we also have a sexting burn.
Oh, Lord.
Somebody decided to text his girlfriend, my dick is so hard. And her response, to find.
When someone texts you something like that, it's really hard to reply sexily. So
yeah, even if it's somebody who you love and trust, don't send them softballs.
No, yeah.
There was a young lady named Jamie who decided to put a meme on her Facebook that said, quote, single, noun, a man who makes jokes about women in the kitchen. And I guess a friend of hers named Caleb said, quote, stupid, adjective, women who think single is a noun, unquote. Somebody named Jordan said on Facebook, I just ate a fish taco. It reminded me of you. Then Tara said, what a coincidence. I just ordered a pizza and it came in 20 seconds. Thought of you, unquote. Another young lady on Facebook decided to say, quote, it makes my heart smile when two ugly people find each other and fall in love. And a friend of hers decided to say, so who's the lucky guy, unquote. Somebody's mother decided to text her son, quote, please don't text me for the next hour. I'm going to be on the treadmill. I wasn't planning on texting you. What did I just say? Unquote. John Aker decided to take on Anderson Cooper himself on Twitter. He said, Y-O-U-R, not too bright, are you? And Anderson Cooper said, did you intentionally misspell your with an apostrophe? John decides to respond, so you're more concerned with my spelling instead of the lies you tell? And Anderson Cooper put a pin in it. Quote, actually, there's nothing about you that concerns me, unquote. And, here's a real life burn. There was a heavy guy in a marathon who wore a shirt that had 4 points on it. 50, fat, diabetic, ahead of you, unquote.
I like it.
Here's another mom texting a child. Quote, any plans for tonight? No. Loser, unquote.
Oh, yeah. I did see that somebody posted that one time.
Oh, how about this? Nick on Facebook decided to put on their quote, my dick is so big it goes from A to Z. Then his buddy Aiden decides to tell him, look at your keyboard, unquote. Somebody decided to post a Yahoo question, or a Yahoo, a Yahoo post. Quote, when a guy says, go make me a sandwich, what's a good comeback? And the response, you better come back with a goddamn sandwich, unquote. Let me see. Somebody decided to poke an atheist on Twitter and said, quote, worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. And the atheist came back with, quote, Timothy 2:12, I do not permit a woman to teach or assume authority over a man. She must be quiet, unquote. A young lady decided to put on Facebook, without the ugly in this world, there would be nothing beautiful. And one of her friends responded with, thank you for your sacrifice.
Yep.
Andy put on Facebook, when I die, I want my epitaph. God.
Epitaph?
Quote, when I die, I want my epitaph to read mistakes were made. And his buddy Evan said, wasn't that already on your birth certificate? We got another mom burn via text. Somebody decided to tell his mother, quote, Mom, stop. You are not funny. You never make jokes. I made you.
Oh, damn.
Oh.
Oh, God, this is a good turnaround. I got a picture here on Facebook of a young lady named Lexi Tiffany. It's like an Asian lady who colored her hair blonde. She said, I do not understand the thinking process of a male's brain at all. Then her friend Jake Zulik decided to say, because you're blonde? And she responds with, your has an apostrophe in it. Marissa said on Facebook, our eyes are placed in front because it's more important to look ahead than look back. And her buddy Andrew says, tell that to Abraham Lincoln. I like this. Somebody on Facebook, young lady named Kristen, quote, call me a slut, call me a whore, call me whatever. I've heard it before. Say that I'm fake, say that I lie, say what you want, but you won't see me cry because I know none of it's true, but calling me all this shit? Ha, what the hell does that make you? And her buddy Mitch said, Captain Obvious. Here's a gun lover burn. Somebody posted a meme that said, guns don't kill people. Dads with pretty daughters kill people. And somebody decided to respond with that with, your dad won't have to kill nobody. Somebody decided to send his girlfriend a message with one of those tablet messengers. You know how you write the message with your fingers?
Uh-huh.
And it says, I love you. And the girl that received it said, oh, how sweet. And the boy responds with, I drew it with my penis on my iPad. Wait. And the girl finishes this off with, is that why the font is so thin? Oh, okay. Here's a self-burn. Quote, asked a student to give me a sentence using superlatives and comparatives. All going well, then he used soon, he came soon, but she came sooner. Grammatically correct? Yes. True? Probably not.
Yeah.
There was a young lady on Facebook who said on her post, can't stop eating. And her ex-boyfriend said, worms? She responded, she responded with, wouldn't be the first thing you gave me.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, God. Apparently a girl was watching the trailer for The Hobbit when her boyfriend said, I want to see that. And she says, I know, babe. I want to see where you came from.
What?
She's calling him a hobbit?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the end of the burns.
Okay.
Boy, that was distracting. I have 4 glitch videos, and none of them are Batman.
Okay, a good improvement for them there.
Well, I have 2 what the fuck videos that include Destiny, and the first one may be one of the best comebacks I've ever seen when it comes to a PvP match. It is nothing short of incredible. At least that's my memory of it. I sent the video.
Still in this fight.
There you see somebody just resurrected. Resurrected his buddy. Ground slam. And finished it. Resurrection. And shotgunned away.
Wow.
And resurrection. And shotgun away. Winner.
Enemy team.
Whoops.
That's got to be the moment where you're just like throwing your controller, man. You had them, and then the guy takes you out twice. But the next video is an amazing one, because I did not know you could do this with a Nova Bomb. This is another PvP match, and this goes on in the Rusted Lands, I think it's called. I sent the video. Here you see a Warlock running around. See, he throws the Nova Bomb. High up, almost straight up, right?
Yeah.
Coming down, and boom!
Oh my god!
He just wiped out an entire fracking team.
Oh, fuck.
I didn't know you could do that.
I did not either.
It's a capture the flag match, V, and because of how quickly that marker is changing sides, you know that either 5 or 6 members, possibly the entirety of the other team, is over there. So the guy just threw a Hail Mary, and it landed on all of them.
Nice. I did see the damage go off.
Yeah, and the fact that the guy does a little victory dance afterwards, that's just a nail in the fucking coffin. You know, that was almost cruel, frankly. And I have one more glitch video. This one is more of a... This is definitely a bug video, whereas the other 2 were just kind of epic plays. But this one comes from a source we don't usually get to. The Master Chief Collection for Xbox One.
Ready.
And if I had to describe all this to you, I would say that Ant-Man went on a killing spree.
Okay, I have mine's loaded.
Believe me, you'll understand. I sent the video. Okay, this is by Ty Goss. You can see him as the player. He's the guy who uploaded this. You see that on the ground?
What the?
Something just attacked from nowhere. There it goes running.
Oh.
For some reason, one of the enemies in the game, one of the shielded enemies, a jackal, has a full-size pistol, but he looks to be about 2 inches tall. And he's doing full-size damage.
Oh my god, I love it.
I think the player's
Totally
a little too
Ant-Man.
confused. Yeah, I think the player's a little too confused to know what to do here. And the little bastard runs fast. He's all over
Now
the
he's
place.
trying to shoot it.
How do you shoot that? It's a perfect defense.
Oh my god, that's perfect.
That'd probably be exactly how I'd respond. What the fuck do I do with this thing?
Like, I want an X-Men game. Or not X-Men, Ant-Man game. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it looks fun.
Well, yes, a couple days ago, the guys and I went over the story about Ashley Madison and how many of their 37 million users were actual women. It turns out that because of the algorithms that were used in their original breakdown of information, IO9 had to revise their numbers a bit.
Okay.
So they found out a couple of additional details when it comes to the stats of Ashley Madison. When it came to the number of times people bots sent people messages on the Ashley Madison website, it sent messages to 20,269,675 men. The bots also sent messages to 1,492 women. Oh my god, they're just not engaged on that site, are they?
No.
Number of time that bots chatted with people on Ashley Madison, 11,030,920 men, 2,409 women. And this is...
Not surprised.
Oh, no, this is probably the biggest teller on the site because the last statistic here, number of bot accounts in the Ashley Madison website, 43 male bots, 70,529 female bots. That means of the God, it seems like maybe a fifth of the majority, or a fifth of the total female accounts were bots. The bots would respond with a bunch of generic stuff trying to get you to talk too. You know, hi, how are you? Hey there, anybody home? How's it going?
Right.
What
Yeah.
brings you here? And if a man struck up a conversation, the bot would return with things like, when I was younger, I used to sleep with my friends' boyfriends. I guess old habits die hard, although I can never sleep with their husbands. I'm sexy, discreet, and always up for kinky chat. Would also meet in person if we get to know each other and think that might be a good connection. Does this sound intriguing?
Interesting.
Wow, you have to be stupid to fall for that shit. There's a 17-year-old in Massachusetts named Michelle Carter. And frankly, I'm usually a relatively empathic person, although I'd like to see something horrible happen to her. Last July, she had a boyfriend named Conrad Roy III, and he killed himself by placing a gas-powered water pump in his pickup truck and letting the carbon monoxide consume him. He committed...
Oh, I think we've talked about this.
No, we haven't. This is new.
Oh.
I have not heard about this before. Because right now, Miss Carter is in police custody over her boyfriend's suicide. Yes,
What did she do?
Her boyfriend did it to himself. However, these are some of the messages the two passed between each other in 2014. Get this. He would often talk about suicide. He was a mentally troubled kid, and he was always looking for something, I would imagine, to help keep him grounded. Some of the texts she sent him in the last year, quote, "You always say you're going to do it, but you never do. I just want to make sure tonight is the real thing. You can't keep pushing it off, though. That's all you keep doing. There isn't anything anyone can do to save you, not even yourself," unquote.
What the
Ooh.
fuck?
I have no idea. She definitely... I don't know if she was trying to use reverse psychology or if she wanted him dead that bad. One of the exchanges they had was Roy texting her and saying, "How was your day?" And she responded with, "When are you doing it?" One of the few times Roy told her that he had a good day, she responded with, "Really? Yes. That's great. What did you do?" Ended up going to work for a little bit and then just looked stuff up. "When are you going to do it? Stop ignoring the question."
Bitch!
She even helped him discuss methods of suicide. Roy proposed suffocation via carbon monoxide, but thought it might not work. Then Miss Carter revealed how much research she done into potential suicide. Quote, Roy thought about using a tube to channel exhaust from his truck's tailpipe into the vehicle, but realized that the diesel engine emitted lower levels of carbon monoxide that might make failure more likely. Carter was confident that it would work and told him why. Quote, if you emit 3,200 ppm of it for 5 or 10 minutes, you will die within half an hour. You lose consciousness with no pain. You just fall asleep and die, unquote. Carter was also suspicious of the plan about the tube because she thought it would be too easy for him to chicken out. Quote, I bet you're going to be like, oh, it didn't work because I didn't tape the tube right or something like that. You always seem to have an excuse, unquote.
What the
fuck is up with this bitch?
I hope she goes to jail for this. That's definitely egging them on.
Yeah, in texting that night with in text at one night, I think the night that Roy may have committed suicide, Carter texted a friend of hers, quote, like I honestly could have stopped it. I was on the phone with him and he got out of the car because carbon monoxide was working. Told him to get back in, unquote. The blue fuck, man. She should be up for murder 1. She knowingly drove this kid to kill himself. She should be up for murder 1 and no less.
I would say murder 2 because it's a bit of a better bet, or possibly manslaughter. But yeah, any way you slice it, she was instrumental.
Yeah. In a Stranger What the Fuck news, you guys know that Metal Gear Solid 5 is out. I've seen people flooding my space with minor stories about playing it.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the PlayStation Special Edition for this game?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
It comes in a bright red case that's very reminiscent of Big Boss's red cyborg arm. It's a beautiful looking console with gold trim. Take a look at this.
Ooh, damn,
That is a gorgeous piece of machinery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hang on, my nose
Makes me want to buy
killing
it.
I know. It's awesome looking. But at the same time, it actually has a little bit of print to make it look like a military, a piece of military hardware, complete with a caution on it.
Mm-hmm.
Take a good look at that text.
Field stripping.
Facerate. Do not use Molly. I can't.
Yeah, I can't read any more of that.
Something lubricant.
Okay, what that's referring to is molybdenum lubrication. Okay, molybdenum is the number 42 on the periodic table.
Okay.
Molybdenum is spelled MOLYBDENUM. A special edition console has a fucking typo on it.
Oh, that's great.
All the work that goes into this shit, they couldn't do a spell check before they put out the console?
Right?
Fuck.
I bet someone got fired.
I don't know about... Maybe not. Maybe he couldn't give him enough text to let him know where to find him to fire him. Somebody put together a fan video of what it would look like if Princess Peach and Princess Zelda got into a smackdown. A live-action video where the two of them got into a fight. You want to see?
Yes.
Well, I hope so, because I sent the video. There you see a lady dressed up as Princess Peach.
With a Goomba coming at her?
Yeah. Oh boy, is it trucking. Nope, just going to beat the shit out of this thing. Yeah. 4.
Oh.
Goomba in your head. It's amazing what start cats fights these days, isn't it? Umbrella.
And an umbrella.
Nice dodge of the Superman.
Oh.
Oh! She hit her head. Okay, well, Peach knows fireballs.
Yeah.
But Zelda ain't
Apparently
relenting.
that's a +5 umbrella of fire resistance.
Turnip! A turnip right in the nose.
Oh.
I like that expression. What the fuck are you doing, bitch?
And a ball.
Fire arrow.
Okay, so why does she use a fire arrow instead of just fireball again?
Because this is kind of like Smash Brothers.
Okay.
Lost her. Zelda got away. Can't find her in the forest. Ah, across the river.
Okay.
Okay, riding your umbrella across the river is very crouching tiger. Oh, that was fun.
And chic.
Yep. The old chic disguise. Hi, have you seen another princess around here? Gonna answer that very quickly. Oh, I forgot about the high pressure cry.
Yeah.
Ooh! That looks like a lance. That arrow just straight up looks like a mini lance.
Yeah, Peach's roots are showing.
Fine, next time you make your own movie.
I'm just saying.
Oh look, it's gonna save her. Yeah, if only that was threatening. Ugh.
Okay.
Zelda won.
I like that video.
It was just a strange little moment I thought I'd share. So, this week we didn't really have much of a subject, so I wanted to ask you guys some general questions to give people an idea to get to know if they're relatively new to the show.
Okay.
The Rolling 20s, we call it our virtual coffee table. We just pile shit up and start talking about it like you do in any other nerdy situation where people just chat about bizarre shit at the beginning of the day. And it does occur to me that we're more likely to read Marvel stuff than DC stuff simply because of how the storylines play out.
Yeah.
You know, we're more of a fan of that style of storytelling. So I thought I'd ask, given the slate of movies upcoming, can you guys think of any characters in Marvel's TV or movie divisions? And when I say Marvel, I don't mean Fox or fucking Sony, that you would like to see added into their universe somewhere.
I'm not really familiar with most characters. I mean, I guess I would like to see more, like, integration between the existing things, like X-Men to Avengers, for instance.
Yeah, to do that, we'd have to kill Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is a character that could appear in just about anything that... to me, a character that could appear in just about anything Marvel's doing nowadays would be Squirrel Girl.
That would be awesome.
That does sound amusing. I don't know anything about her, but the name...
Squirrel Girl is a story according to the comic books. She was introduced, I think, in the 70s. Marvel was looking for a way to tell a story involving Iron Man that shows there are more heroes out there than just the ones starring in the comic books. So as he was traipsing through Central Park one day, he found a young lady sleeping in a tree. That was the first appearance of Doreen Green, a character known as Squirrel Girl. She had enhanced agility and this weird ability to talk to squirrels. That was the length of her abilities.
Pretty much, yep.
And she's a mutant, so her powers are inborn. The character was reintroduced in the early 2000s in an issue of Great Lakes Avengers, which are like the sorriest group of Avengers you could ever think of.
No, it's true. It's absolutely
seriously,
true.
They're not a sanctioned Avengers team. Their leader is a guy named Mr. Immortal. His power is he can't die. That's his
Not
sole
that he
power.
Can't be hurt.
Yeah.
Not that he
can't die.
Can't die.
The Avatar of
They
Death
got sued by the
refuses to
Avengers,
take him.
didn't they?
Yes, they did. They were told they couldn't be Avengers anymore. It was a copyright infringement. But I mean, they got Mr. Immortal who can't die because death won't take him. That's just the length of his powers. They even have one character called Doorman. He's a teleporter who the length of his teleportation abilities are he can take you from one room to the next room.
Well, he could be really good at jailbreaks.
That's the problem, is he's only good from door to door. He can't go further than room to room. So you get the gist. They went on a recruiting drive, and they decided to talk to Squirrel Girl after their first couple of attempts had denied them flatly. It's like the only person who even thinks about being a Great Lakes Avenger willingly is D-Man, and he's a joke in and of himself. It turns out Squirrel Girl, by the time they met her, she had one-on-one encounters with Doctor Doom, Thanos, and Galactus, and has won them all. Doctor Doom actually curses her name. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yet she doesn't have a whole lot of special ability. She just has spunk and determination and somehow comes out on top every time.
And a nutsack.
Yeah, she has belts on her, or she has pouches on her belt filled with different types of nuts for her and her friends. As Doorman...
She literally has a nutsack. Wow.
Yeah, as Doorman put it, dude, she's got nutsacks. You know, she's a weirdly ubiquitous character. She even had a relationship with Wolverine at some point that's not very clear. Wolverine told her she looked beautiful like she always does. Considering their age difference, ew. Just straight up ew.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to kind of get used to seeing people as children and then seeing them as adults when you live forever.
Well, she's probably only 20 at this point, the way comic books age works.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's see. Can you guys think of any characters that should be added to the Marvel DC or the Marvel Entertainment Universe?
Not that I can really think of.
Because the more major ones I could think of are being added recently, like Cage and Iron Fist.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. And they're still talking about adding Captain Marvel.
Yeah, her movie's on the slate for 2018.
So,
though they haven't cast it yet, and they haven't said whether or not this character will appear before that movie.
So
I imagine Captain Marvel would be high on the list. Actually, let me ask a sideways question. The X-Men franchise is off limits to Marvel due to the movie rights that Fox owns till at least 2026.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would be smart for Marvel to leave that shit alone and just leave it separate, considering how busy they are? Or do you think maybe they should pull a retcon like they did with the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and find a way to alter things so they could add those characters?
Given the amount of, I mean, maybe if you were looking at like one specific person, I could see them doing that. But otherwise, I mean, if you're going to take like the entire X-Men team and be like, oh yeah, no, they aren't mutants, that to me would ruin it.
Yeah, I agree.
The unfortunate thing is that's almost plausible considering how quickly they did it with the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
There's no such thing as mutants.
No, not no such thing as mutants. It was just, okay, we thought you were mutants, but you're not. You're something else.
Yeah.
They're now experiments of the high evolutionary. I don't know.
You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like that would be like I mean, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are not, intrinsic
iconic
characters per se. So to sit there and mess around with their origin story is intriguing and, so forth. But if you were to say like the entire X-Men team, it's like, nope, none of you were actually mutants. Xavier finding you with Cerebro was just some kind of weird ass mistake. And,
well, you could say
that
you could say that the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are not intrinsic to the X-Men, but they're very intrinsic to the Avengers.
True, but
and they
the
still
Avengers
did,
isn't as, the Avengers isn't a mutant-centric, book.
No, but it still shifts a lot of things you
mutants
understand about that character because the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch have been found by Cerebro. They were thought to be the children of a prominent mutant, which now is not the case. And it turns out they weren't even thought to be children of that mutant before.
Right.
Their original origins, they weren't children of everybody. They were just a pair of siblings that was found. So it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Right, but that's what I'm just saying is like to do it to an entire group of mutants that you've known.
It's a bit much.
It's a bit much to just immediately. Now, if you were just like, Colossus. Oh, no, he wasn't actually mutant. It was something else. Or, Nightcrawler. Whatever. At that point, you could be forgiven, I suppose. But to do, like, an entire group of people all at once, no.
Okay, then pick one. Which one would you grab?
I want to see Mystique. I don't know if that's necessarily the one I would grab.
I don't know.
Played by McAvoy, I would say Professor X.
Yeah.
But only if played by McAvoy. I really liked his rendition. Not that Picard's isn't good, but I think that McAvoy's would be more interesting.
Okay, you mean Patrick Stewart.
Sorry, what did I say?
Picard.
Oh, yeah. They're synonyms.
Pseudonyms. But yeah, I don't know. I've always been a big fan of Havoc. And since he's actually been, leader of the Avengers now and everything, I could see him going in.
You know what? I'm kind of on the fence about two different ones because they're both two very different visually stimulating characters that the Avengers had not really had access to before. First off would be Blink from the Exiles or the Age of Apocalypse.
Right, and they've already done her, so it wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah. The second one, though, could actually bridge the gap between what Fox took and what they want back. Sunfire. The pyrokinetic mutant.
Yep.
After all, they don't have a pyrokinetic in the current Marvel movieverse. Probably part of that is just to keep the distance from Johnny Storm and any confusion.
It's true.
So Sunfire would be a great way to bridge that gap that they're lacking at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really have a whole lot of elemental manipulation. Is there anyone?
Never exactly been the Avengers' forte. The closest I think they've come with that would be Crystal or the short stint when Storm was an Avenger.
Very short.
I'm not sure if I count. Well, I guess Storm is close enough to that.
Well, Storm became an Avenger because her husband was an Avenger.
Right.
She was married to the Black Panther at the time.
Who was like a warlord or something?
The Black Panther is a king.
Of Wakanda, the place that you get vibranium,
right.
which the Captain America's shield's made out of.
Yeah. And, and the funny thing was I remember that storyline that a lot of people seem to have forgotten because of how short it was. I think it was only like 5 or 6 issues. But at the time, Thor was unavailable. I forget the exact reasoning why. But somebody suggested, well, where do we find someone like Thor? And the Black Panther just said, I might know a person. It's like, duh, right?
Yeah.
Only the lady that was Goddess of Thunder for about a week and a half.
Wait, did she pick up the hammer?
Yes. Yeah. Thor was unavailable. I forget the exact reason. And Loki produced a second hammer and gave it to a partially mind-controlled Storm and made her think she was the Goddess of Thunder for a while. She had hammer, armor, mohawk, the whole bit. God, nerding out all of a sudden.
Huh, interesting. I never knew about that.
See, I mean, I'm glad that Marvel is starting to straighten out some of its problems because they can almost entirely recreate the new Avengers, which is like my favorite volume of the Avengers in history from like 2004 or 2003. And they had a robust fucking lineup. They had Captain America, Iron Man, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Ronin, who I think was Echo at the time, the Sentry, and Luke Cage.
Yeah, Spider-Woman would be fun. Although, you've already got the Black Widow, so that's the only thing.
But Spider-Woman is a big enough difference from the Black Widow. I don't think anyone would have trouble telling those two apart.
Yeah.
Black Widow doesn't have any power at all. At least in the current Marvel-verse.
Not overtly. The Black Widow underwent all their assassins from the Red Room undergo a process that enhances their bone structure, slightly enhances strength, ups their endurance by a wide degree, and one of the side effects of that is that they are unable to reproduce, period. They're sterilized.
Right.
So that's why towards the end of Age of Ultron, when the Black Widow was holding up that heavy shield, she had no problem whipping it around like Cap does.
Fair enough. I did wonder about that. They don't ever explicitly state that in the movies.
No. That would be a long thing to get into.
Yeah, they alluded to it in the latest movie.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They alluded to the part where she was sterilized. They didn't talk about the full process that the widows undergo. God, when it comes to existing Avengers, I'd like to see a version of. It's kind of hard to come up with a list because there's been so many. They double up way too easily. It's like part of me wants to say Rage from the New Warriors, except, that's basically Cage at 16 years old, so you really don't need to do that. Yeah, a good story for maybe an episodic, like, Netflix show or something? Speedball.
Oh,
Speedball?
Especially with his current incarnation?
No, he's back to... He's Speedball. He's gone back to Speedball. He's forgiven himself. Yeah, God, V,
completely? Because I thought he was still, when we were reading that new restart thing, he still kind of had that whole vibe going on.
Only minorly. He submerged it. He's back to being Speedball. The powers have changed a little bit, but he's more or less himself, and there was a recent volume of the New Warriors where he was just him.
Okay.
God, V, strap in, because this takes a little bit. Speedball is a young guy who, scientific accident, he's able to create a kinetic field that's made up more or less of these small, colorful orbs, okay? But when he exudes this field and he hits something, he rebounds like a racquetball. Hence the name Speedball. He doesn't jump or anything, he just kind of bounces from place to place. Fast forward to just before the Civil War. Remember we were talking about people screwing up and getting a bunch of kids killed?
Uh-huh.
He was the sole survivor of that team.
That's going to be rough.
Yeah, his field actually protected him from the kinetic force of the explosion.
But it inherently burned out. He wasn't able to access his powers. So he was put on trial, and he agreed to plead guilty because he just felt that guilty over the death of 600 frickin' kids. Or was it 60? Well, it was either 60 or 600. I forget the exact digits.
It must have been 60 because 600 would be like an entire elementary school, not just a kindergarten.
It was a school that was blown up, though. They lost an entire school.
I would say it's 600.
Well, you refer to it as a kindergarten, so that's why I'm just like, okay, so 60 would be, a classroom or something. But.
Yeah, it was a kindergarten school. I want to say it was 600.
I would say it's an elementary school at that point.
I want to say it was 600 because I remember him saying something about I think the number 544 came up a lot. Anyway, what he found out after being beat up a couple times in the yard is that his powers had changed. His powers weren't activated anymore by just him bouncing into things. His powers were now activated by pain. So
that's unpleasant to find out.
Yeah, he was released into the care of Norman Osborn, who was running a project called the Thunderbolts, trying to reform supervillains and turn them into something useful. He had him design a costume that had all kinds of razors and spikes designed on the interior of it. Because when he built up enough pain, he could release these gigantic kinetic blasts. And he put on a full helmet, so he hid himself from the world, and he called himself Penance. And this guy was really into pain. Got his nipples pierced, was constantly cutting himself, all kinds of wacky shit. Caught up with a guy called Nitro who had the powers to explode. He's the one who ended up destroying the school. The one his team screwed up.
Right.
He tracked this guy across the world to Latveria, convinced Dr. Doom to hand him the fuck over, which is amazing enough in itself. Yeah. Then when he got this guy on board the plane, he set it on autopilot back, started to strip off the costume, and explained to Nitro that the costume, he didn't have it made for him. He had it made for Nitro and started putting this costume that had all these spikes and cutters on the interior on Nitro piece by piece. And then as soon as he fastened on the helmet, he grabbed a ball-peen hammer and started whacking the side of the head, hitting his hand, hitting his thigh, hitting him in the stomach.
Oh, ho, 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 ho.
And by the time that plane touched down again at Thunderbolt Mountain, the Thunderbolt's base, Nitro was inside, still alive, not able to talk, and what was left of Speedball just kind of had this lazy smile on his face, and he said, "I'll be ready for the next mission." Is that psycho enough for you?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Speedball was the kind of the happy-go-lucky character, his team mascot and clown, and then one thing happened, and holy shit, he's Batman.
Batman is not quite so.
He was for a while. There was a period where Batman carried a gun.
Fair? I've never seen that.
And I don't mean when he was first created in the 40s. That he carried a gun the first time, but there was a period in the 80s he carried a pistol. He was tired of people fucking with him.
As he should be.
You think that happens sooner or later, right?
Right?
It's just a question of why did he stop?
Now, when it comes to the second Guardians of the Galaxy film, I'm almost disappointed that the writers made it very clear, James Gunn, as director, made it very clear that there will be no Earthbound Guardians in the second film. Or no new ones, anyway. Because that makes Captain Marvel an impossibility. He said there would be new Guardians, but none of them would be from Earth. That leaves a list in my head, but it'd be too boring to go through with you guys, so I'm not going to bother with that.
Well, as long as they ain't somehow from Krypton.
Oh, shit, no. I want to see more adventures in Nowhere, though. I'd like that place. Well, maybe Cosmo will be a Guardian this time. The telepathic dog?
Yeah.
Wasn't he shown briefly in that,
Yeah,
supposedly, yeah.
We saw him
he
real
was looking
briefly
on him.
3 times. And the thing that made him magic in the comics is Cosmo is a dog from a 1980s Russian cosmonaut project. His probe got knocked off course, and he ended up somewhere in Nowhere where aliens found him, and instead of messing around with his body, they augmented his mind. He's telepathic. In the comics, he's chief of security of Nowhere. Which is weird enough on its own, an Irish setter being in charge of the fucking station. But the best part is because he's sentient and can communicate, he and Rocket Raccoon absolutely despise each other, but neither one of them has any clue why. They both say this roughly the same thing. I don't know what it is about him, but I freaking hate him. Are there any characters that might do well with a Netflix series?
Oh, God. Spider-Man comes to mind, actually. If they're going to keep making movies, they might as well just make a series.
Very potentially, yeah.
And he's got that kind of charm that would do well in an episode, I think.
That's actually part of a story we went through earlier because I'm a little worried about their future integration. Remember I said that Marvel Movies is no longer under the purview of Marvel Entertainment? Marvel Studios is now working directly with Disney.
Oh, right. That's right.
Marvel Entertainment still has the TV shows. Which means they still have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, and the Netflix stuff.
Okay.
So I worry about future integration of the two genres from here out. Maybe it can work if Disney puts their foot down, but I don't know how much control they have over Marvel Entertainment.
Probably a fair amount, I would think.
Yeah. Okay, so one that hasn't had much success in the movies, but I think could be interesting, would be Ghost Rider.
Oh, that
would be very cool as a TV series if you pull the stops out and just don't worry about your ratings.
Exactly.
The difficulty
or possibly
with Ghost
Punisher as well, but
the Punisher we'll have our shot at in Daredevil. We're going to find out if that'll work at all because those movies have been awful. Well, actually, check that. The Thomas Jane one was actually pretty good. It just wasn't as outlandish as the Punisher's usual adventures in comics. It was relatively tame. The Ghost Rider movies, though? Oh, God.
Those were so bad.
I have had bouts of diarrhea I've enjoyed more than that film.
But I think that, especially if you treated it like a series, and again, didn't worry about your ratings or anything so much, which they seem to be willing to do with these internet ones, then I think it should be pretty good.
I like that idea, but I would add a caveat to that, though, because I don't think if you're going to do a Ghost Rider Netflix show, you should defocus it. In other words, don't have Johnny Blaze as a star. Have Johnny Blaze and Danny Ketch and Ronnie Raymond. Give you a chance for a little versatility in the show instead of being stuck with the one hero.
Right.
Because Ketch and Blaze had two different sets of powers as a Ghost Rider, and then Raymond as a Ghost Rider drives a car instead. So at least you can vary up the machinery, the scenery, and probably even the enemy list at that point.
Yeah.
The only weakness with Ghost Rider, and it doesn't matter which medium, is that the list of villains for that character pretty limited.
Yeah,
if you're going to do a TV show,
you don't have to do it, as a comic book. I've got to go out and fight the villains and whatnot, because Ghost Rider is this spirit of vengeance.
Yeah, you didn't let me finish. I was going to say you'd have to come up with a bunch of very original stuff and probably eschew the comic book continuity and come up with a whole lot of new things for it to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, you could see it almost more because, like, they treated Daredevil like a crime procedural, and they're going to be treating Jessica Jones like a psych thriller, I think is what you said.
Psychological thriller was the plan that was laid out.
So just do Ghost Rider possibly as kind of a...
if you say supernatural, I will shoot you.
Well, no, not this show anyway. But no, I mean, do it more like, not necessarily like X-Files, but, them going out, possibly running into unknown stuff, but also, just doing the spirit of vengeance thing on people, going after bad people and making sure that they, get their just desserts.
Charmed.
It's been so long since I saw that show. Wow.
I've never seen that show, actually. Well,
I could almost hear you go. I could almost hear you sputter. Wait, fuck you. God. The only difficulty, though, is that you got to keep from... If you're going to do a series like that, you got to keep from falling into tropes. Please don't make something as stupid as the Ghost Cave or,
God, no.
Give him a woman that he has to fall in love with. That's a character that has to be alone for a good long time because the luck of the Ghost Rider is about as bad as Spider-Man. Shit rarely ever works out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. God, if Doctor Strange wasn't going to be a movie, he could be a hell of a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But that would, again, you would probably have to go low budget on the costumes just to save for the fucking effects. I don't know what that would look like in the end.
Yeah.
And that's part of the
alone would be pretty crazy.
Yeah. And supposedly, according to the promo images that were released at the D23 of character art, they are planning on going with that full cape for the Benedict Cumberbatch version.
It makes sense. It's, standard fare for him.
Yeah. It's going to be flashy.
I still remember the what if Wolverine became Lord of the Vampires and Punisher wound up with the Eye of Agamotto in his cloak?
Actually, the Thunderbolts would make for a pretty good show or movie in its own right.
Yeah.
The Thunderbolts V were a bunch of, depending on which version you're talking about, it's a bunch of supervillains trying to do good. The original version were a bunch of Avengers villains known as the Masters of Evil disguised as superheroes. They were trying to get the public on their side, so it made it easier to rob them later.
Which is cumbersome, but yeah.
Yeah. The second version, a lot of the original characters of the Thunderbolts were actually getting so into the hero side of things, they decided to go legit anyway and kicked out their leader. So they tried to become a legitimate superhero team, and it worked. It had mixed results. It helped when Hawkeye came in to lead him for a little while, but still, mixed results. I would say the most interesting version, though, and Marvel could technically do this right now, is probably the Norman Osborn version.
Mm-hmm. Which Speedball was a part of. Penance.
Yeah. Now, imagine this. Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin is now a matter of criminal record. He's been arrested. He's been put in jail. But because of his connections and his amount of money, he wormed his way into the leadership of the Thunderbolts as their CEO. And he started to restaff the team with people he could control and help him look good so he can mount a public campaign later to rehab his image. So he kept a couple of the original members, but he started staffing it with a bunch of, I don't want to say questionable villains, but easier to control ones, people who don't have a whole lot of aspirations but could be easily manipulated. And then there comes that question of, out of the characters that are doing this, which ones actually enjoy doing the right thing for the right reasons, and which ones are the sociopaths waiting to run away? Osborn always had a trouble with trust, so he implanted a bomb in each of their skulls.
Lovely.
Somewhat similar to the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Or to Hydra.
True. Very true. Shit. Anything else you can think of?
Really?
Can you think of any DC series or characters you'd like to see made into a live-action something?
I'm not really very familiar with the DC side of things.
Yeah, that's always my issue. Sometimes I think that I might be more into DC if I was
exposed
more
to
familiar with just more familiar with the characters or whatever. But they just, none of them, everyone that I hear about, I'm just like, meh.
I guess of all the ones that we've covered, Aquaman seems the most interesting.
He is in his most recent iteration simply because even he treats the weirder powers he has like a joke.
Yeah.
The Teen Titans would actually make a pretty good movie, but you would have to put some really big money behind it. And the unfortunate thing is, to make it work, you kind of have to disconnect it from the rest of the DC universe.
Yeah,
which is difficult. I was going to say it's a difficult thing because the idea of the Teen Titans is the sidekicks of all these major superheroes trying to find time and their own way to be their own superheroes. So you would have to make references to the larger heroes, but you really can't see any of them if you're going to have this crew seem at all important.
Yeah, stand on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Not going, I'm going to get Daddy to come show up and knock the shit out of you.
And even then, it suffers from some of the same problems as the Justice League does, because you've got Donna Troy, who's a demigoddess. You've got, depending on who it is, Superboy is Supergirl, another Kryptonian. Then you got Robin, the smartest little shit in the world.
Who suffers from the same issues as his mentor and doesn't really trust anyone and always thinks he knows best.
Yeah. Then you have the ancillary characters who are almost too powerful in their own right. Beast Boy, Raven, Starfire.
Starfire always... It actually kind of shocked me once I actually, reconciling the only, influence I had from her before was from the Teen Titans cartoon show, and then actually reading the comic book character, I was like, what the fuck? Totally different.
Yeah, Starfire in the comics is very body free.
Body free?
Yeah, she comes from another planet. She's an alien princess from her planet, and on her world, warlords are the primary monarchy.
Okay.
And her entire society is war based. So, when they have downtime, they tend to be very free with themselves. They're not worried about nudity. Sex is an entertainment, not a connection per se. Things like that.
Yeah, she is not the innocent, sweet princess person that you see on the cartoon show.
Dude, I nearly laughed myself stupid because just before the New 52 really started to gain traction, they had a new Animal Man series for the first time since like the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And because the Titans were not gelling very well, Starfire moved away from them, and she moved in with her new friend Animal Man and his family. Animal Man has like 2 kids. And then at one point, the kids come home from school with Animal Man's wife. They're all excited to see their friend Aunt Corey. Animal Man's son bursts out in the backyard and yells, "Mom!" And the wife comes out and looks at Starfire, who's just sunning in the nude. And then as soon as she sees everybody, she just sits up and says, "Hello, Mom, can I go outside and play?" "No."
That's a character I'd like to see.
Yeah, and that's always something that's had trouble reconciling with fans, because the more comics have gone mainstream, the more people look at characters like this and go, well, that's inappropriate. You know, kids should not be reading this. And then there's the argument that I've always wondered that nobody brings up is she's an alien. The culture is completely different. Why do we have to insist that standard American culture has to be applied to somebody that's supposed to be from another fucking galaxy?
Right?
Because
also,
we would do it to them. You know we would.
You would. It's not my speed.
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm not saying even I would. But society as a whole would force an outlier to conform with society. It doesn't matter if they're from another fucking planet. It doesn't matter if they're from another fucking country. How many times have you heard, oh, English only in the U.S.? You know,
I don't hear that. That's why the instruction booklets have 4 languages in them in this country.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's true to life that would happen.
yeah,
Well, that's not what's happening in the comics, though. I'm talking about fans. They're the ones yelling the loudest.
Oh, I
think
know.
children should be exposed to things so that they learn how to deal with it. Not like
Like Michael Jackson.
okay, not like that, but like I guess less exposed to it and more.
I have no issue
everything should be treated as
exposing children
natural.
to something, but I think it's
What would you expose them to?
none of your business.
Okay.
No, but I think I mean, the responsibility again lies with the people, you know, providing that, because yeah, it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. So,
You know, I got to be honest. Out of DC's slate of stuff upcoming, I'm really looking forward to the idea of the Wonder Woman movie. I am more concerned about the eventual output of it, considering DC has this weird ideology they seem to be going with of trying to make it seem more gritty and realistic, which is just hilarious every time I think about the psychotic in the Batsuit and Space Jesus. So, you know, this demigoddess, I would like to see something larger than life, because she's one of the few characters that actually comes from an outside pantheon. You know, she's the queen of an Amazonian tribe on this mystical island. There's nothing about her that I think of as conventional.
yeah, and I don't think, you know, with their current portrayal of her and everything, that fitting into, you know, society is going to be easy.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I was about to say, if I was writing or working on a Wonder Woman movie, it's going to sound stupid, but I would try to make it like a movie version of God of War.
God of War?
She should be fighting these Titanic-sized monsters as a show of both strength and determination, instead of what I have a feeling is going to be another movie where it's a fish out of water where she tries to deal with more terrestrial problems. I don't know if I said that correctly, but I hope I got the point across.
Yeah.
We want to see a modern day, you know,
Odyssey.
Jason and the Argonauts or Odyssey or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be
And
far more compelling.
Yeah, and I would use CG, so she's fighting these gigantic homunculi, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way I would do it anyway. But no, instead DC likes to focus on its moneymakers, which happens to be the psychotic who keeps losing parents.
Well, but the thing is, too, is that then, you know, especially since from what I understand, they're supposed to be using the introductions of these characters to justify the Justice League that they plan on forming. So if you go too far outside the norm, how do you tie that character into the eventual formation of the Justice League?
Well, that's the thing, is that the Wonder Woman solo film is coming out after the Justice League movie.
Really?
As far as I understand, yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, it's still possible. Besides which, considering the powers of the Justice League, her dealing with that on her own would almost be appropriate, because as soon as she got help, it's not a challenge.
Yeah.
The Kryptonian makes everything unfair.
As always.
No, I was trying to explain that as somebody at a convention, you know. She said, you liked Superman during the Blue Electric period? Of course. He was so unusually overpowered, I started rooting for the bald guy with the green rock.
And when all it is a green rock that you have to fear, then
Yeah.
it's like,
going back,
quick, who can hide the kryptonite?
And where would you hide it? Ew. There was one person who talked about the fact that the Submariner for Marvel, the rights for that character as far as movies are tied up in Universal Studios right now. Yeah, God, if I had my druthers, spend the money, get the rights back, and see if Dwayne Johnson's busy for a little while.
Yeah, and honestly, because I was talking with Jesse about this, with the way that they've been doing the Fantastic Four for the movies and everything, the fact that they keep using Doom as the main villain, yeah, I agree. He's iconic. He's pretty much the first, major enemy that the Fantastic Four had. But at the same time, due to the way that his character has evolved, you can't really make him the focus of one movie, and not resolve everything, the way that they always try to do. So in that respect, I'd rather see them come up with a more viable villain, and one of the ones that popped into my head was possibly the Submariner.
The thing is, Doom is a very viable villain, but Fox keeps trying to write his origin to coincide with the Fantastic Four for some reason. Right. He's always there at the Cosmic Ray Storm. He's always there when the portal is being dealt with. You could have him in the Fantastic Four movie, in the same movie as their origin, frankly, but you need to slash his origin from theirs. He should almost be that hush thing you talk about and not really see until halfway through the movie. The mysterious king, the mysterious warlord of Latveria. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then just let the urban legend take over until they interact with him, think he's nothing to talk about, and then all of a sudden he starts throwing fucking demons in their face. Shit like that.
Yeah, but even still, I'd rather see, especially if they're going to do another freaking origin story, get the origin story out of the way, then do Doom. I think you could do it better that way. I would prefer to see him, not even come in during their origin story. That way he's not tied to their origins at all. Maybe have, Victor Von Doom in the beginning, but not be Doom if you're going to go that route. Or if you want him already established as a villain, bring him in the second movies and don't have to worry about them being involved in the origin at all.
The thing is, though, I would go for the home run in the second movie. I would go for Galactus, and no, I don't mean the giant fart cloud. I would go for the actual Galactus.
Yeah, that's another thing too.
Galactus is one of the most singularly intimidating concepts I've ever heard of. A giant sentient being that has to eat planets to survive. Well, eat is the wrong word. Consume is more like it.
Yeah.
It's not like he's munching on moons or anything. But the idea, it's trying to stop something primal. You're not trying to stop something that's inherently good or inherently evil. It's just another fucking thing trying to survive. That's one of those moral questions that the Fantastic Four in the comic books generally dealt with very well until people ran out of ideas.
Mm.
The other thing I would stay away from when it came to Fantastic Four, I get non-conventional. I think the Ultimate Comics kind of succeeded where the standard ones failed in that they never got bogged down in the standard relationships of the characters. The Ultimate versions of Sue Storm and Ben Grimm actually started a relationship after Reed Richards started to lose his nut. Shit like that.
Mm.
I'm not saying that Johnny Storm would have to bang his sister or anything weird like that. No, shut up. But just take it outside the norm, because I think Fox gets too stuck in ruts based on what they've read so far. They don't really know how to go outside the comfort zones of these characters and tell anything new. That's how the X-Men movies for Fox have done well, is because they've retold the stories. They're using the same characters we're familiar with, but they reframe everything in a way that even if the movie is not technically good, you're curious enough to find out where they're going to head with it.
Mm.
Superman, you can't reframe that story. It all works the same fucking way. The only difference is whether or not he's spinning the Earth backwards to stop time or throwing cellophane S.
We're just erasing the memories of people with a kiss.
Yeah. I remembered that story. Then he kissed me and I forgot it all over again. See, that stunned her enough she stopped clicking shit. I heard that. I think we've been at this long enough.
Okay.
It has been a good long while, and I have to interview a young cosplayer who's been to both Anime California and the D23 Expo.
Oh, nice.
I get to do that tomorrow, so I'll probably go through my memories of Central Coast Comic Con while I'm at it. So I don't know if I'm going to post that under the Rolling 20s, though. I may put that under the Conover just because I've already got 2 shows I got to send to Anthony with this one. And maybe I should put that responsibility on him, you know? Free up my time a little bit, because I have to go to Strategicon this weekend.
Oh, right.
I got an invite to the tabletop gaming convention. And then next weekend, I get to go to Long Beach Comic Con, where all this wacky shit is happening. I can't believe I have a chance to maybe see Chloe Bennett face to face.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
Love to hang out with her.
Long Beach Comic Con recently announced that both Chloe Bennett and John Barrowman are coming to their conventions. That's pretty good for a small fucking con.
Yeah.
So jealous.
Yeah, we'll see what shakes loose. Maybe I'll run to Todd Knock and he'll call me Newman again. All right, well, thank you very much for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again next week. The subject is the 2005 volume of X Factor, issues 1 through 6. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great week. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
And V.
Don't jerk and drive. Enjoy your week.
But that is enjoyable.
Just don't do it while you drive. Do it on a pogo stick. Be interesting.
It's a little too hard to stay on.
The jerking or the pogo stick?
The pogo stick.
Okay. Just pogo while you pogo. I'm sure you can pull it off.